In this life, I orchestrated every single missed chance with Ting. He stayed in Chicheng, while I went to the Gobi Desert. When he followed me to the desert, I shut myself away in a classified facility on my deathbed. He knelt outside my hospital room, begging for one last glimpse of me. I paid no heed, using my last ounce of strength to write down the missile trajectory equation before passing away. He stood before my grave, his hair turning white overnight. Su Jiwei, in this lifetime, why did you forsake me? Between Ting and me, one was a powerless country girl from the mountains, and the other was a young and accomplished battalion commander in the military district. Our paths were never meant to cross. The only reason I could marry into the Hua family was because my father saved his father's life on the battlefield. It was their way of repaying the debt. On her wedding day, Qi Mushua's husband, Lin Hai, went on a mission in Ting's place and tragically died. Ting had promised to look after Qi Mushua and her daughter for the rest of their lives. This, too, was the Hua family's repayment. Ting always told me this. I gave up my chance to go to university, confining my entire life to the cramped confines of the Hua family estate, serving my in-laws, raising children. In the end, after I had cared for my bedridden mother-in-law for over a decade, on her deathbed she said, "Jiwei, you've held Ting back for decades. Our Hua family has repaid its debt of gratitude long enough. Let go." Even my own daughter said, "Mom, you're simply not good enough for Dad. Your arranged marriage with him is a futile relic. You should step aside and let Dad and Aunt Chi, the true lovers, finally be together." All my sacrifices and efforts were seen by them as so utterly worthless. After seeing off the two elderly parents, I initiated the divorce. With my temples now streaked with gray, I returned alone to the countryside. That night, amid the howling wind and lashing rain, the dilapidated old house gave way, its walls collapsing. I was crushed to death beneath the rubble, bringing my meaningless life to an end. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my mother's personal effects were returned. Comrade Zhang dedicated her entire life to the nation. Her contributions will be remembered by the country, but the project is not yet complete. Everything remains classified, and we cannot publicly honor her achievements at this time. Comrade Su, can you hear us? I snapped back to reality, my eyes meeting the concerned faces of the two soldiers. Comrade Zhang was exposed to severe radiation over her entire body. We couldn't bring back her ashes. This is the only personal effect we recovered. Two soldiers, with solemn and heavy hearts, placed a worn wooden box into my hands. Looking at that box, my body began to tremble uncontrollably. After my father's sacrifice, my mother, whom the villagers had gossiped about, saying she'd run off with another man, had finally returned to me. In this way, as the two soldiers left, they handed me 30 yuan, along with a stack of fabric ration coupons and grain coupons. That 30 yuan was a reward my mother had paid for with her life. The fabric and grain coupons were what she had scrimped and saved for me over all those years. In my past life, I never understood why my mother would abandon me, shoulder the disgrace, and disappear to a place she knew was a death trap. But in this life, stroking the wooden box, I made a firm resolution. Comrade, I will carry on my mother's legacy. I will go to the Gobi Desert and serve my country. When my mentor received this news, the depth of his anguish now matched the intensity of his fury when I had abandoned university. Jiwei, your mother's final wish was for you to live an ordinary life, to marry, raise a family, and live out your days in health and happiness. A dutiful wife and mother, living a healthy and happy life. In my past life, I did indeed follow my mother's dying wish and lived as an ordinary person. And what was the result? I shook my head with a smile. Teacher, all I want is for the day to come when I can rightfully bury my mother alongside my father. If this plan doesn't succeed, my mother will forever bear the stigma, and her sacrifice will remain unknown to anyone. The teacher fell silent. Finally, he relented. What about Battalion Commander Hua? I thought of that handsome, resolute man. A hint of mockery tugged at the corner of my mouth. I will divorce him. As for that daughter who never got the chance to come into this world, she always resented me for giving birth to her, for depriving her of a father's love like Lin Lin received, and for standing in the way of Ting being with her beloved Aunt Chi. In that case, perhaps it was better for her not to have come into this world at all. My teacher looked at me with a complicated expression, knowing full well how much I loved that man. I had even given up my chance to go to university for him. How could I possibly let go completely? All right. There will be an assessment in 1 month. If you pass, I'll take you to the Gobi Desert with me. I knew that, in the end, he wanted to preserve the Su family line. A month, a grace period for me to change my mind. I took out my pen and drew a heavy cross on the calendar. I turned around and saw Ting, the man who claimed he was too busy to accompany me to collect my mother's belongings that morning was now walking into the supply and marketing cooperative, side by side with Chi Mushue. The man stood tall and straight in his military uniform, radiating a formidable and heroic aura. The woman wore a red dress, appearing elegant, intelligent, gentle, and captivating. That red dress was bought by Hu Chongting at the department store, the day before my birthday. I couldn't help but glance at the fountain pen in my hand, the one Hu Chongting had given me as a wedding gift. It was one of the few gifts he ever gave me, and I've cherished it, keeping it close to me ever since. When I looked up again, the two of them had already stepped inside. Hu Chongting held the door open for Chi Mushue like a true gentleman, and she thanked him with graceful poise. Their eyes met, a moment filled with warmth and harmony. Our eyes met, and for a moment, both of our expressions froze. In the past, to avoid awkwardness, I would always step aside and let a colleague handle them, but today, I didn't retreat. A smile touched my lips as I took the initiative to greet them. What can I get for you too? Hu Chongting's brow furrowed slightly. He probably hadn't expected me to be so bold today, and a probing gaze was cast in my direction. I didn't look at him, my gaze instead landing directly on Chi Mushue. Chi Mushue turned to seek Hu Chongting's opinion. What do you think I should get Lin Lin for her birthday? Her tone was like a wife consulting her husband. I wasn't the only one who thought so. My colleagues felt the same way. That's the main reason I didn't acknowledge Hu Chongting. Only when Chi Mushue asked did Hu Chongting finally shift his gaze to the counter. Last time, I promised to give her a doll. In high spirits, Chi Mushue looked at me with a sly glint in her eyes. Comrade, I'll take that one. I turned around, picked up the doll, and placed it in front of them. 5 yuan and 50 cents. Hu Chongting, of course, paid the bill as he left. Hu Chongting glanced back at me once more, his lips parting as if he wanted to say something. I, however, lowered my head and busied myself tidying the counter, deliberately ignoring his reaction. He paused for a moment, then followed Chi Mushue and left. A nosy colleague sidled over, watching their retreating figures with a lovesick sigh. They make such a perfect couple. I looked up at the pair walking away side by side and answered with a smile, yes, they do. One was the youngest and most promising high-ranking officer in the military district, the other a doctor who had returned from abroad, commanding immense respect from countless people. You'd be hard-pressed to find a more perfect match in all of Qiqing. After work, I went to the back door to take out the trash. Hu Chongting was leaning against the wall. Who knows how long he'd been waiting. He probably didn't want anyone to know about our connection either, which is why he always met me at the back. I've ordered a few dishes at the state-run restaurant. Let's go together. In the past, I would have been overjoyed. In our previous life together, spanning decades, the number of times he asked me out to eat could be counted on one hand, but today, a faint, indifferent smile touched my lips, and I answered casually, all right. I didn't refuse. Hu Chongting seemed to let out a sigh of relief, the slight tension in his lips easing away. He opened the passenger door for me, but just as I was about to get in, I saw Chi Mushue's bag sitting brazenly on the seat. I gave a wry smile. I'll just sit in the back. Hu Chongting saw it too and looked a bit embarrassed. He turned and opened the rear door for me instead. Are you upset? Is it because I didn't spend time with you this morning? He attributed my unusual behavior today to that. I'm not upset, I replied. We rarely have time alone together. Whenever we do, I'm always eager to tell him everything that's happened. But today, I didn't feel like saying a single word. Hu Chongting noticed my distress and went on to explain. One of Dr. Chi's patients passed away this morning. She was heartbroken and terrified, so I accompanied her. I promised Lin Hai I'd look after his wife and daughter for him. It's a duty the military entrusted to me as well. Truth be told, when I got the notice to collect my mother's belongings, I was trembling with fear. I grabbed his arm and asked if he could come with me, but my husband didn't even have the patience to hear me finish my request before he hurried off. In my past life, the thing Hu Chongting told me most often was that there was nothing between him and Chi Mushue, and he swore on his honor as a soldier that he would never betray me. But Chi Mushue always came before me. Even after our child was born, Lin Lin was prioritized over our own child. Even when going to the amusement park, our own daughter was only occasionally brought along as an afterthought. It's all so pointless, really. In my past life, I really struggled to keep up that facade of magnanimity, but now, I don't have to pretend anymore, because I genuinely don't care. She is the wife of your savior. It's only right, I said with a smile. Hu Chongting let out a small sigh of relief. By the time they reached the state-run restaurant, a light rain had begun to fall. Sure enough, Chi Mushue was there too. Ji Wei, you're here. Chi Mushue's smile was bright and radiant, but the moment I sat down, she suddenly stood up. looking at Hua Changting with an apologetic expression as she said, "The hospital just scheduled me for an important surgery. Changting, could you please drive me back to the hospital first?" Hua Changting glanced at me. "Can't you go after we finish the meal?" Naturally, Qi Mushiwe wouldn't agree. She was accustomed to challenging me in this way. It was such a simple trick, yet Hua Changting never seemed to see through it. "If you're busy, I can go by myself." The apology on his face was perfectly measured, and he immediately turned to leave. Hua Changting promptly stood up to follow him, turning back to say to me, "Wait for me, I'll be right back." On our wedding day, Qi Mushiwe called to say Lin Hai was in trouble. He left me alone at the altar, and those were the exact words he said. That day, I became the laughingstock of the entire military compound. Don't be fooled by how friendly those aunties and wives seem on the surface. They never stopped gossiping behind my back. 3 days later, he came back, but the first thing he said to me wasn't "I'm sorry," it was, "Jiwei, wait for me, let me figure things out." That night was meant to be our long-awaited wedding night, yet he moved into the guest room. Back then, I naively believed he was still grieving Lin Hai's sacrifice on his behalf, and I was willing to wait for him. It wasn't until Qi Mushiwe came to provoke me time and again that I finally understood what he truly needed to figure out. Qi Mushiwe was his first love. With Lin Hai around before, he had no choice but to give her up and marry me. But now, Lin Hai is gone, Qi Mushiwe is single again, and Lin Hai's dying wish was for him to care for her and their daughter for life. He needs to think hard about whether to choose me or her. I nodded. Hua Changting strode off to get the car. "Jiwei, I'm sorry for interrupting your dinner with Changting again." In Qi Mushiwe's smile directed at me, she ultimately couldn't help but let a hint of smugness and contempt slip through. It was as if she was saying, "So what if Hua Changting chose you? I'll always be his number one." I paid no mind to her provocation. I ate lunch alone. The rain grew heavier. Many people ran for cover under the eaves, but I walked straight into the downpour. In this world, no one has ever sheltered me from this storm, and I don't need anyone to in this life. I will wait for no one else, not even Hua Changting. Hua Changting rushed back to the state-run restaurant. The food was still there, but the figure that would have waited for him at any moment, had he only turned back, was gone for a fleeting moment. Hua Changting was dazed. A staff member approached and asked, "Battalion Commander Hua, will you still be eating? Let's wrap this up." Hua Changting turned and walked away, his receding figure looking desolate. That afternoon, I submitted my resignation to my superiors. My superior was somewhat perplexed. "Comrade Su, your work has been diligent and responsible. We were actually planning to promote you." Just then, Hua's mother called, "Jiwei, today is Lin Lin's birthday. She loves your cooking. Why don't you take the day off? It's not like your job is all that important anyway." "Yeah, this job really isn't that important." 1 year ago, on the day I took the college entrance exam, Hua's mother fell down the stairs. With no one else at home, I called Hua Changting, but his subordinate said he was away on a mission. It was pouring rain that day, and I couldn't get a taxi. Left with no choice, I carried Hua's mother on my back and walked 5 kilometers to the hospital. I missed my exam. It wasn't until the next day that I found out Hua Changting's so-called mission was actually accompanying Qi Mushiwe on a shopping trip to the department store. Dr. Sea Turtle, a man of singular sincerity, is said to have mastered advanced Western medical techniques. The higher-ups place great importance on such talent. The higher-ups did indeed order protection, and they did assign the task to Lin Hai's most trusted brother. However, it didn't necessitate Hua Changting going in person. Any of his trusted subordinates could have handled it. That was the first time he ever said "I'm sorry" to me. For that apology, I willingly gave up my chance to go to university later. The Hua family used their connections to get me this insignificant job. The manager who received Mrs. Hua's call felt somewhat awkward, but more than that, he felt regret. She patted my shoulder like a kindly elder. "It's understandable to make some sacrifices for your family, but don't just casually give up your career. People are fickle, you know. Even those who love you will weigh your social worth." She learned this the hard way and doesn't want me to repeat her mistake. And haven't I, myself, gambled away an entire lifetime? My nose tingled with emotion. "Thank you, I'll remember that." After packing up and leaving the supply and marketing cooperative, a colleague came running out after me. "Jiwei, you forgot something." I looked. It was the fountain pen I had carried with me until the day I died in my past life. "Keep it, I don't want it anymore." "Didn't you always like it?" My colleague was delighted, and for me, it was one less burden to carry. I returned to the Hua family home with my mother's keepsakes. After Hua Changting and I obtained our marriage certificate, I moved out of the Hua residence just as the meal was ready. Hua Changting and Qi Mushiwe walked through the front door. holding Linlin's hand. Hu Chongting saw me in the kitchen and walked over unhurriedly to take the dish from my hands. Why did you leave when I came back at noon? He asked. You're busy, don't worry about me, I answered. A sudden emptiness washed over Hu Chongting. He paused mid-step, words on the tip of his tongue, just as Qi Mushiwei entered the room. Jiwei, let me help you, Qi Mushiwei said with a smile. All right. I handed her a plate of food. Mrs. Hu came downstairs just then and hurried over to take the hot dish from her hands. Oh dear, don't move around like that. What if you get burned? These hands are meant for delicate surgery, Qi Mushiwei said apologetically. I saw how busy Jiwei was. It's fine. That's just what she does. My hand stiffened slightly. Hu Chongting frowned. When he came back in, he whispered in my ear, Mom doesn't mean any harm. I smiled. I know. She was simply worried about Qi Mushiwei's hands, those hands that had studied abroad and were meant to hold a scalpel. She simply thought that's all I was good for. Nothing more. Once the food was served, Lin seated Qi Mushiwei and Hu Chongting on either side of her. Hu Chongting casually pulled out the chair beside him and looked at me. In that moment, a flicker of resolve, the kind that fears rejection, passed through his eyes. I pretended not to notice and sat down beside him. The corner of his mouth lifted in a faint smile as he placed a morsel of food into my bowl. Lin pouted in displeasure, jabbing her chopsticks into her rice bowl a couple of times with clear annoyance. You wicked woman, she mouthed at me. I pretended not to see. Chongting, do you remember the River Cam in England? Qi Mushiwei suddenly began talking about their 2 years studying at Cambridge. It was there that 16-year-old Hu Chongting fell in love with 19-year-old Qi Mushiwei at first sight. However, the proud princess didn't take a liking to the rigid and aloof underclassman. Those 2 years also seemed to be the happiest and most memorable of Hu Chongting's life. Before long, a gentle smile appeared on Hu Chongting's face, and he became more talkative. I could never get a word in on topics like that, so I just quietly ate my meal. As the conversation went on, Qi Mushiwei started speaking in English. I knew she was doing it on purpose. She probably thought I was the only one there who couldn't speak English, while even 4-year-old Lin could manage a couple of words. Little do they know, I was already helping my teacher translate English materials 2 years ago. It's just that I genuinely look down on these petty, jealous tactics. Just like every time she deliberately goes to the supply and marketing cooperative with Hu Chongting, I do feel awkward. That's true. But I've never been afraid of her. My only fear is that if my relationship with Hu Chongting were exposed, it would damage his reputation. After all, the Hu family took care of me for several years. I can't ruin the life of their only son just because my own marriage is unhappy. Qi Mushiwei's laughter filled the entire dining table. Cambridge was the pinnacle of Qi Mushiwei's life, a memory she shared with Hu Chongting. At every brilliant moment, Hu Chongting would watch her quietly, a gentle smile playing on his lips. A restrained light flickered in his eyes. It was joy. It was admiration. It was the gaze of a man looking at a woman. Mr. Hu cleared his throat loudly, interrupting their animated conversation. Let's eat. Only then did Hu Chongting realize his impropriety. He turned to look at me, casually picking up some food for me with his chopsticks. Once again, I saw that thing called guilt in his eyes. Yes, every time his mind wandered, he would feel guilty towards me. My stomach suddenly churned, and I rushed into the bathroom. I just couldn't hold back in that moment. After emptying my stomach, I turned around to see Hu Chongting offering a handkerchief. I didn't take it. No need, thank you. He awkwardly tucked the handkerchief into his pocket. Old Hu, haven't you noticed? In the study, Mrs. Hu discussed the dinner table conversation with Mr. Hu. Chongting only talks this much when he's with Mushiwei. Look at him with Jiwei. He's never been that happy. If they had waited to get married, what are you trying to say now? Mr. Hu snapped angrily. Mrs. Hu pursed her lips. It's not that I think Jiwei is a bad girl. I just want our son to be happy. We only get one life, and I don't want my son to spend his entire lifetime regretting it. All for the sake of your Hu family's so-called debt of gratitude. My hand, poised to knock, hesitated. The truth is, I could tell them right now that I'm willing to get a divorce to set Hu Chongting free so he can pursue his own happiness, but the Hu family can't bear the stigma of being called ungrateful. They would never agree to the divorce for this reason. In fact, they'd probably think I was just being difficult, which would only make things messy. For this last month, I just want to live in peace. I knocked on the door anyway. The sounds from inside the room abruptly stopped. The door opened from within. Mrs. Hu wore an awkward smile. She wasn't sure if I had heard what she said. My face was clear of any stain. I wouldn't care a whit about her opinion of me anymore. I told them about my plan to resign and prepare for the exam. They thought I was preparing for the college entrance exam, so of course they had no objections. Before I left, Mrs. Hua took my hand, a hint of guilt showing on her face. Ji Wei, when are you and Chongting planning to have a child, with a baby? Perhaps he'll focus a bit more on home. This was my mother-in-law's way of giving me a hint. I gave a casual nod to Mrs. Hua. Turning around, I bumped right into Hua Chongting's chest. Hua Chongting's chest was as hard as a wall, his whole body seemed rigid, and he was visibly uncomfortable. Only he and I knew we hadn't gone that far. He must have heard what Mother Hua just said, that's why he was so ill at ease, unable to even meet my eyes. Maybe I should move back into the master bedroom, he said abruptly, a single sentence, and a blush burned all the way to the tips of his ears. My heart was a still pond, utterly devoid of any ripple of emotion. Don't take what Mom just said seriously. Hua Chongting's roving gaze suddenly locked onto me. You don't want to. I looked at him, smiled, and gave no answer. He seemed angry, a blazing fire flushing his cheeks crimson. Perhaps my words had wounded his masculine pride. After all, he had been so magnanimous as to offer to share a room with me, and here I was, foolishly refusing his kindness. He stomped downstairs, leaving me with nothing but an angry silhouette. I paid it no mind and went to retrieve my mother's keepsake before leaving, but the wooden box was no longer in its usual spot. My heart skipped a beat. I rushed to find Lin Lin, and sure enough, she had taken the wooden box at some point without my knowing. Just as she was opening the box and about to rummage through its contents, I quickly snatched it away. Who said you could touch that? Lin Lin pouted and rolled her eyes, but when her peripheral glance caught sight of Hua Chongting, her little mouth suddenly quivered, and her eyes instantly welled up with tears. I'm sorry, Auntie Sue, I thought this was the birthday present you got for me. For a 4 or 5-year-old child to be such a skilled actress, Chi Mushua's parenting methods were truly something else. Hua Chongting couldn't bear to see his goddaughter so upset. What's wrong? Lin Lin's tears fell as she tugged at Hua Chongting's sleeve with a pitiful look. Godfather, I've upset Aunt Sue again. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Hua Chongting looked at me, his eyes holding a hint of reproach. Honestly, I was almost amused by this little actress's performance. Yes, it's all my fault, I'm sorry. I picked up the box and walked straight out. Hua Chongting was taken aback, a look of guilt washing over his face. He had practically raised Lin Lin himself, so he knew a thing or two about her temperament. Ji Wei, wait, let me walk you out, Godfather. Lin Lin was never going to let him go so easily. By the time he managed to placate her, I was already gone. Hua Chongting rushed out after me, but there was no trace of me to be found. Ji Wei, do you want me to come back? The moment I got home, his call came through. Holding the receiver, I couldn't help but find it a little absurd. Was that really my call to make? Forget it. Before I could even respond, the line went dead on the other end. I shook my head, unsure what had gotten into him all of a sudden. For several days in a row, I didn't see hide nor hair of him. I was already used to this kind of life in my past life. I never bothered to ask where he went either. I dug out the study materials my teacher had once given me and started learning all over again. My first job was helping out in my teacher's lab. During that time, he taught me a great deal and encouraged me to go to university, with the hope that I would later become his graduate student. Unfortunately, I let him down. Now, picking it up again, I quickly became engrossed. After I had marked several X's on the calendar in a row, Hua Chongting returned, except, he came back with Lin Lin. Ji Wei, I'm home. He stood at the kitchen doorway and said to me. A strange light flickered in his eyes, as if he was still hoping for something. I pretended not to notice, glancing at Lin Lin, who had kicked off her little shoes and made herself at home on my sofa. I said, I'll add a couple more dishes. The gentle look in Hua Chongting's eyes vanished, replaced by a palpable, creeping tension. I continued to ignore it. I'm starving. I want boiled fish. Lin Lin shouted towards the kitchen. There was no fish at home. Should I go buy some fish? Then, Hua Chongting said, but he didn't leave right away, and I didn't look at him. He let out a frustrated sigh, put on his coat, and headed out the door again. Lin Lin was watching TV in the living room. I was cooking in the kitchen. After not hearing a peep from Lin Lin for a long while, a bad feeling suddenly crept into my mind. I rushed out to look, and sure enough, the sight in the living room nearly gave me a stroke. Lin Lin had actually dug out my mother's keepsakes from the bedroom. There she stood on the sofa, scissors in hand, systematically shredding the toys my mother had lovingly made for me. When she saw me emerge, she met my gaze with a defiant look, then let go. The shredded remnants of my mother's keepsakes tumbled into the trash can. I was trembling with rage. He yanked her off the couch. Pick it up. I had never been this furious before. Lin Lin flinched in fright, then immediately started throwing a tantrum. You mean woman, yelling at me again. I'll tell my godfather to throw you out. You're just the nanny. How dare you yell at me? Wah, mommy, godfather. the mean lady is bullying me. Chi Mushiwe arrived as if she had timed it perfectly. She rushed through the door and shielded Lin Lin. Why are you picking on a child? If you don't put your own things away properly, don't blame us when a child touches them. Just as I thought, a fatherless bastard with no upbringing whatsoever. A sudden, inexplicable rage shot through me. You can provoke and insult me all you want, but insult my mother? Absolutely not. I raised my hand. What do you think you're doing? A large hand clamped down on my wrist just in time. It was Hu Changting. A wave of towering rage washed over me at that very moment. Smack, seizing the moment, Chi Mushiwe slapped me hard across the face. The handprint was clearly visible. Hu Changting was stunned. I looked at him and laughed. Hu Changting, is this really what you wanted? I never expected him to protect me the way he protects Chi Mushiwe, but I never imagined he would help that mother and daughter bully me either. Perfect. The last shred of illusion I held on to vanished into thin air. Hu Changting saw the cold detachment in my eyes and my pale face. Jiwei, Chi Mushiwe, feeling immensely pleased with herself, held Lin Lin and scolded angrily. Su Jiwei, how can you be so cruel? Lin Lin is just a child. They were just a few worthless toys. At most, I'll pay you back. Was it really necessary to lay a hand on a child? Those were my mother's keepsakes. I spoke, each word deliberate and slow. The room fell deathly quiet in an instant. Hu Changting's face grew even paler, realizing the trouble she'd caused. Lin Lin glanced around nervously and stopped her fake wailing. Chi Mushiwe couldn't swallow her anger, her fair cheeks flushing. If it's so important, you shouldn't have left it lying around. I put it in my bedroom. She managed to find it even with the door closed. Where else am I supposed to hide it? Don't you know what your own daughter is like? You. Chi Mushiwe was still trying to argue with me, clinging to her heirs as a returned overseas master's graduate, while Hu Changting's face was etched with utter exhaustion. You too should head back first. Changting. Chi Mushiwe could scarcely believe her ears. For the first time ever, was Hu Changting actually asking her to leave? Lin Lin tugged pitifully at Hu Changting's sleeve. Godfather, I didn't mean to. Woo-woo, go back, said Hu Changting, his face etched with exhaustion. With no other choice, Chi Mushiwe picked up Lin Lin, shot me a fierce glare, and left, clearly unwilling. Once the room held only the two of us, Hu Changting crouched down and helped me gather the toys that had been cut to pieces. Lin Lin is just a kid. What's the point in arguing with her? You're right, I shouldn't have made a big deal out of it. Just like in my last life, I let everything slide and ended up living a pathetic, spineless existence. I tried my best to calm myself down. As you can see, it's not that I can't tolerate them, it's that they can't tolerate me. Hu Changting frowned, seeming displeased with my relentless persistence. I curled my lip in a sneer. I know you still have feelings for her, but I don't want to wait for you anymore. Hu Changting, let's get a divorce. Saying those words, I felt an immense sense of relief. There was no anger, no resentment, only genuine ease and joy. Hu Changting, however, shot to his feet in a panic, his large hands fluttering helplessly, unsure where to put them. Jiwei, are you feeling unwell from getting caught in the rain the other day? Should I go get you some medicine? My expression turned serious. I'm not sick. Hu Changting, let's get a divorce. A chill descended upon the room once more. Hu Changting was furious. You must be hungry. I'll go make something to eat. He went straight into the kitchen, not giving me another chance to speak. I shook my head and shut myself in my room, hearing the door close. Hu Changting finally dared to exhale the breath he'd been holding in his chest, and the tension in his muscles eased slightly. The power went out, so I lit the kerosene lamp. I began to piece and stitch the toy back together, the one Lin Lin had cut up. I'm not sure how much time had passed when a knock came at the door. Jiwei, dinner's ready. I set down my needlework and came out. Hu Changting wasn't much of a cook on a normal day, and this meal was hardly delicious, but he had made my favorite, braised pork belly. Seeing me pick up a piece of the braised pork, Hu Changting quietly let out a sigh of relief. After the meal, I took the initiative to wash the dishes. Hu Changting leaned against the kitchen doorway, watching me. The stiff line of his mouth softened considerably. Afterwards, he went to freshen up. Today, he had made a point of grooming himself very neatly. He'd even taken the time to shave, and I could smell the faint, clean scent of soap on him. I knew exactly what he was after. Just before he could step into my bedroom, I said, Hu Changting, I meant what I said about the divorce. Hu Changting froze in the doorway once more. This time, however, he spoke as if he hadn't heard a thing. If you're tired, you should get some proper rest. I won't disturb you any further. Having said that, he closed the door for me on his way out. The wooden door shut firmly between us. I knew he hadn't left, He was just standing outside the door through the wooden door. I could faintly hear his slightly ragged breathing. I paid him no mind and continued mending my mother's keepsake. Early the next morning, the first light of dawn was breaking. I opened the door to find a mountainous chest blocking the doorway. Hu Changting stood there, his eyes sunken, his posture ramrod straight, like a pine tree weathered by countless storms. He stared at me, as if he had made up his mind about something. Ji Wei, I've made a decision. I'll have others look after Dr. Qi and Lin Lin. From now on, let's just focus on us, on building a life together. He turned and left, but as he took his first step, his stiff legs from standing all night nearly gave way, almost sending him tumbling to the ground. Watching his retreating figure, I felt a flicker of disorientation. This time, he actually let go of Qi Muxue. I admit, at that moment, my heart was in turmoil. For a fleeting moment, I found myself fantasizing, if he really gave up on Qi Muxue and Lin Lin, staying behind to build a life with him, well, that didn't seem entirely unacceptable. But that fantasy was shattered in an instant. That afternoon, on my way to the library to borrow some books, I passed by the park next to the residential compound and spotted 3 familiar figures. Lin Lin was on the children's slide, playing alongside a few kids. Hu Changting and Qi Muxue stood guard on either side of the slide, carefully ensuring her safety. They looked so loving and affectionate, just like a family of 3. The faint ripple of emotion that had just stirred in my heart completely vanished. I couldn't help but laugh at myself, at my own foolishness and naivety. That evening, Hu Changting came home carrying a pound of pork belly. At the dinner table, he made no mention of the application, and I didn't ask. It wasn't until the meal was finished that he finally spoke. Dr. Qi is heading far north to join a top-secret national project. He may never be able to return in this lifetime. I set down my chopsticks and listened to him. Hu Changting looked at me with great seriousness. Ji Wei, I want to adopt Lin Lin as my own child. I don't want her to become an orphan like you did. I almost laughed. The man who had firmly declared he would leave Qi Muxue and Lin Lin behind this morning was now pushing his luck even further. I nodded, my expression unreadable. It's only right. After all, her father did save your life. Hu Changting's face showed both gratitude and relief. But don't worry, I won't let them disturb your life. Even if Dr. Qi leaves in the future, my mother will take care of Lin Lin. You won't have to be concerned. I nodded. Everything was already arranged, so what more was there for me to say? But after that, Qi Muxue and Lin Lin really never came to my house again. I could finally settle down and focus on my studies. Honestly, I could tolerate those 2 if they didn't deliberately flaunt their superiority in front of me. Whenever he wasn't on a mission, Hu Changting would do the laundry and cook. What's the deal with calculus and nuclear physics? Do they still test that on the Gaokao? A voice suddenly came from above. He leaned forward slightly, his hands braced on the arms of the chair, and I was enveloped by the sheer force of his presence. I shifted slightly to the side, avoiding the warmth of his breath against my cheek. Just a casual interest, nothing serious. I had no intention of telling him about my trip to the Gobi Desert. I have a very important assessment coming up. Hu Changting, I think we should sleep in separate rooms for now. Just this morning, I discovered he was decorating the room, even buying streamers and red silk. In our past life, he said we never got the chance to have a proper wedding ceremony. He took the day we first got together very seriously and spent a long time fixing up this room for it. Hearing this, Hu Changting's body stiffened slightly. He straightened up and said, all right. In those days, I could clearly sense a certain gloom in his mood, but that was none of my business. With the assessment looming, I studied day and night, soaking up that knowledge like a sponge. My teacher once praised my natural talent in this area, but that doesn't mean my half-baked skills could meet the standards of a true professional. But right now, the country is in dire need of talent. I don't believe they can truly find that many qualified professionals, so my chances are excellent. I must seize this opportunity. The day of the assessment finally arrived. Early in the morning, Hu Changting made breakfast. I have some personal matters to attend to today, so I need to go out. He deliberately emphasized the words personal matter. I kept my head down, silently eating my porridge. All right. Hu Changting's breath hitched, standing nearby. His tall frame loomed like a mountain, his presence bearing down oppressively. Aren't you going to ask where I'm going or what I'm doing? I finally put down my spoon, looked up, and smiled. You're always so busy, you should just focus on your own things. Whenever you had free time before, didn't you always spend it with Qi Muxue and Lin Lin? That time I suddenly came down with gastroenteritis, you said you were busy, but you were just accompanying Lin Lin to her dance class. That private time was never mine to begin with. So why should I even ask? Hu Changting stared at me. For a long time I could feel the congee in my bowl getting cold. I really didn't want to drink it chilled and risk an upset stomach. Today's assessment was far too important. I didn't look away. I met his gaze directly. Anything else? Hu Changting finally let out a sigh, his eyes betraying an unmistakable weariness. Wait for me to come back and cook dinner tonight. I nodded. The selection was open to all of Qiqing, but only a handful of candidates truly caught the attention of the higher-ups in the field of nuclear physics. There were fewer than 20. The assessment was divided into two parts, theory and practical application. In the end, fewer than half managed to pass both sections. I came in first in both theoretical and practical assessments. My teacher stared at my results, his brow furrowing deeper and deeper. I knew he wanted me to stay, to preserve the Su family line, but with me being the top performer, not selecting me would be a disservice to the nation. Sir, I'm volunteering for this. The teacher's eyes suddenly welled up, and he turned away. I'm done with this. If you're really going, we leave in 3 days. After that, I won't wait. I left with a smile. In the hallway, I ran into a person in a white lab coat complaining to another soldier. What's the deal with this Qiqing returnee medical master's student of yours? She even failed basic pharmacology theory, and her practical skills are a complete mess. Weren't you the one singing her praises to the high heavens? And you even assigned a special detail to protect her. I know you value talent, but not everyone with a foreign degree is the real deal. The person passed by in a flash, and I didn't catch everything, but I recognized that white coat. He was the leader of the medical team heading to the Gobi Desert this time, also a returnee from overseas studies, a medical doctor, truly respected and of high standing. As I walked out of the exam hall, I saw a familiar car parked by the roadside, with a familiar figure leaning against its hood. Hu Changting spotted me immediately too, straightening up at once. What are you doing here? I'm leaving in a couple of days, and I didn't plan on keeping it a secret any longer. I was just about to speak when Qi Mushiwei came out, and a clear flicker of panic crossed Hu Changting's face. Ji Wei. Hu Changting took 2 steps forward, intending to pull me. Qi Mushiwei had already walked over. Changting, sorry to keep you waiting, let's go. She acted as if she hadn't seen me, walking straight up to Hu Changting before noticing my presence. She smiled apologetically. Ji Wei, you're here too. I nodded, my expression calm and unreadable, even managing to offer them a faint smile. You're busy. I won't disturb you any further. Ji Wei. Hu Changting took 2 steps forward, as if wanting to say something. Just as the bus arrived, I got on. Hu Changting stood there, the autumn wind whipping at the hem of his coat. He stared at the departing bus, a heavy ache settling in his chest. From the vehicle's rearview mirror, I saw him standing by the roadside, his gaze fixed on us. He didn't look away, not even when the bus turned the corner. Hu Changting, in this life, I've let you have your way. Shouldn't you be happy? I prepared a lavish feast for my last dinner with Hu Changting. Hu Changting rushed home, saw the spread of dishes, and let out a long sigh of relief. I thought you were angry. I smiled honestly. I was already used to him putting Qi Mushiwei first in everything in my past life. I handed him the freshly cooked dish. Hu Changting pursed his lips slightly to keep his cool, aloof face from breaking into two brought a smile. Tomorrow, I'm returning to my hometown to sweep my father's grave. In this lifetime, I don't know if I'll ever have the chance to come back and see him again. After some thought, I decided to make my final request to Hu Changting. Tomorrow, you, Ji Wei, there's something I'd like to discuss with you. I chose to stay quiet and let him speak first. In 3 days, Dr. Qi will be leaving. She has dedicated the rest of her life to the country. Who knows if she'll ever have a chance to come back. Ji Wei, for these last 3 days, I want to take her and Lin Lin out to see the sights. Hu Changting stared at me, utterly serious. His eyes held guilt, but also a resolve that nothing could shake. I gave a slight smile. It's the least I could do. Hu Changting continued. Mom has taken Lin Lin back home. She's still adjusting to the new environment, and Dr. Qi can't stay at the Hu residence. I'll need to stay there for the next 3 days. I nodded. That's fine. Whatever you think is best. Hu Changting studied my expression carefully, only letting out a quiet sigh of relief once he was sure I wasn't actually upset. Sometimes, I think it must be quite difficult for him, caught between me and Qi Mushiwei. Reaching across the table, Hu Changting took my hand. Thank you, Ji Wei. Let's make a good life together from now on. At that moment, the look in his eyes was utterly sincere and fervent. I smiled and nodded, calmly withdrawing my hand. Let's eat. Hu Changting felt somewhat relieved and ate a few more bites. It wasn't until after the meal that he suddenly remembered. What was it you wanted to say earlier? I shook my head. It's nothing important. Don't trouble yourself with it. In our past life, the words I heard most from him were I'm sorry. In this life, I truly don't want to hear a single one of them. Again the next day, Hu Chongting woke up very early. He cherished this final, open and above-board date, and was likely quite eager for it. A note was left on the dining table. Ji Wei, wait for me to come back. The bold, vigorous strokes of the characters were just like the man himself. I struck a match, and the note was instantly reduced to ashes. It took me less than an hour to pack up all my things. So this is how easy it is to erase all traces of myself from this home. In my past life, I was foolish enough to believe he couldn't live without me, that the Hu family couldn't manage without me. I gave up everything to dedicate my entire life to serving them. Looking back now, I can't help but laugh at my own naivety. Carrying my mother's belongings, I transferred buses 3 times and trekked over 10 miles of mountain paths before finally reaching my father's grave. I kept only one of my mother's mementos with me, burying all the rest beside my father. After years apart, the couple was finally able to meet. I wonder if they were happy. I took out their only photo together and kowtowed 3 times. Mom, Dad, your daughter has grown up. Now I can serve my country too. Are you proud of me? I think they would be very proud if they were still here. They would probably be like all parents, patting my head with proud, beaming faces, and proclaiming to the world that their daughter is a truly capable person. On the final day, I returned to Qiqing, found Mr. and Mrs. Hua, and handed him the divorce papers. Mr. Hua was startled. Ji Wei, is this because of Lin Lin and Dr. Qi? I smiled and shook my head. Dad, I'm going with my mentor to join a classified national project. Until it's completed, I cannot leave unless I die. The old general, who had weathered storms of bullets, suddenly turned pale. Ji Wei, you, I still smiled with serene clarity, you only have Hu Chongting as your son. I don't want to hold him back for a lifetime. Frankly, I didn't need to say much. Although Mr. Hu had always been kind to me, what parent doesn't wish for their child's happiness? By stepping aside so willingly and giving them an excuse they couldn't refuse, I even managed to soften Mrs. Hua's heart. With tears in her eyes, she grasped my hand and said, Ji Wei, the Hu family has wronged you, in 2 lifetimes. That was probably the most sincere thing she ever said to me. As I was leaving the Hu residence, Hu Chongting happened to be returning from the amusement park, carrying Lin Lin. It's a bit chilly today. Qi Mushua slipped a trench coat over her dress. The 3 of them entered through the main door together, looking perfectly harmonious and happy. However, when she saw me, Lin Lin said, as if on purpose, Godfather, from now on, can I call you Dad? I suppose the adoption formalities must have been completed by now. Hu Chongting finally got his wish, making Lin Lin his daughter. That's good. Hu Chongting seemed slightly awkward, but he didn't show it on his face. He looked at me with a rare gentleness. What brings you here? Stay for dinner. Seeing the undisguised hostility in Lin Lin's eyes, I smiled and said, no, I won't disturb you too. Polite yet distant, I gave a slight nod and left without another word. A sudden panic gripped Hu Chongting's heart. He let go of Lin Lin and hurried out after me. Ji Wei, I turned around. What is it? Hu Chongting said with great seriousness. Wait for me to come back. I glanced at the unfriendly looks from the mother and daughter who had followed him out, then smiled and waved at him. Goodbye, Hu Chongting, we will never meet again in this life. That very night, under military escort, my teacher and I boarded a special vehicle bound for the Gobi Desert. That night, Hu Chongting had a dream. He dreamed that every time he returned home, that little woman would have hot water and a meal ready for him. She seemed to have a 6th sense, always knowing exactly when he would return and what he needed most. He also dreamed that after every narrow escape and triumphant return, there was always a lamp at home, lighting the path ahead whenever he faced hardship. Just the thought of that laden table, that dim lamp, and the person forever waiting in its glow, would fill his heart with boundless strength, helping him overcome danger time and again. Every time he came home, what he looked forward to most was pushing open the door to find that gentle woman, her face serene and peaceful, softly saying to him, "You're back." It seemed that with just those words, with just the sight of her, all the bloodshed and sacrifice he endured outside felt worth it. It was precisely to protect her, and others like her, that he willingly rushed into danger. But he also knew that in this life, the person he had wronged the most was her. He wanted to retire early, lay down all his responsibilities, and go back to make it up to her properly. But what awaited him was something he never expected. Hu Chongting, let's get a divorce. Trapped in the Hu family for over 20 years, wrinkles had formed at the corners of her eyes, and strands of white hair now touched her temples. It seems she's finally had enough. She wants a divorce, and she won't even give him a chance to make amends. Her breath caught in her throat, and a sharp pain pressed against her chest. Hu Chongting was jolted awake, gasping for air. He sat on the bed for a long time, his head in his hands. How could he have such a dream? It must Had been the psychological scar left by her mentioning divorce before. He was afraid of nothing, yet the moment he heard her say divorce, he was truly terrified, scared out of my wits. Thankfully, it's almost over. Tomorrow is the day Chi Mushiwa leaves. Once he sees Chi Mushiwa off, he can return to that little woman this time. He'll make it up to her properly, so she won't get tired of him so quickly. That's when the hospital called. Battalion Commander Hua. You need to get to the hospital right away. Dr. Chi is injured. Injured? Why now? Of all times, Hua Chongting was taken aback for a moment, but without much hesitation, he got up and headed straight for the hospital. At the hospital, another doctor was already applying a cast and splint to Chi Mushiwa's hand. Chi Mushiwa's hand was broken, her right hand, the very one she used to hold a scalpel. Chongting, what am I going to do? My hand is ruined. How can I serve the country now? I just passed the assessment. The words were barely out before the tears began to fall. Hua Chongting felt a flicker of irritation, but it quickly gave way to acceptance. Maybe it's for the best that I can't go. From now on, he wouldn't have to look after Lin Lin, nor would he have to see her suffer any more indignities. Chi Mushiwa was secretly delighted, so Hua Chongting really didn't want her to leave. If she hadn't gone to the military base to find him last time and overheard him asking other colleagues to take over the protective duty for her and Lin Lin, she wouldn't have needed to participate in that godforsaken selection in the first place. If she hadn't participated, she wouldn't have been humiliated. To this day, she still remembers that so-called doctor berating her to her face for being an uneducated good-for-nothing. She's a proper overseas returnee, you know, even if her credentials are fake. She studied medicine at Cambridge Fair and Square. Chi Mushiwa was clearly very resentful about not being able to serve her country. All her colleagues, even the hospital leadership, came to console her. The military also sent a special envoy to offer their condolences. A few young nurses were positively green with envy. Dr. Chi is amazing, a true medical master's graduate from overseas. She's like a national treasure. Chi Mushiwa smiled modestly, her expression one of solemn duty and regret for not having been able to serve her country. Mrs. Hua came in person to pick up Chi Mushiwa and take her to the Hua family home. Hua Chongting frowned. Mother, is this really appropriate? The joy that had just lit up Chi Mushiwa's face vanished in an instant. Mother Hua shot her son a glare. What's inappropriate about it? Mushiwa has hurt her hand, so washing and cooking are difficult for her. If we don't look after her, who will? Besides, this is a debt you owe Lin Hai, and one the Hua family owes him. I also feel this is far too much trouble for you all. Chi Mushiwa looked at Hua Chongting, her eyes filled with hurt and grievance. Hua Chongting opened his mouth to speak, but ultimately remained silent. Chi Mushiwa moved into the Hua family residence without a hint of shame. At the dinner table that evening, Lin Lin was overjoyed. Yay, mommy doesn't have to leave. From now on, I can be with mommy and daddy Hua forever. Hua Chongting seemed not to hear. For some reason, he felt restless and agitated, as if he had lost something, but couldn't quite grasp what it was. Chi Mushiwa began talking about Cambridge again, reminiscing about the wonderful times they had shared there. This time, however, Hua Chongting listened with only half an ear, his mind elsewhere. Hua's father had also heard enough. He put down his bowl and chopsticks and went straight upstairs. Chi Mushiwa's face stiffened. Is it because of me? She wasn't sure if it was her imagination, but she felt Mr. Hua was particularly cold towards her today. It's none of your concern, let him be. However, Mrs. Hua was more attentive than usual. Hua Chongting had planned to go home today, but Lin Lin grabbed his hand and started crying, standing in the stairwell. Hua's father took in everyone's expressions, especially Chi Mushiwa's. Hua Chongting turned and saw his father, hesitating a little. Dad, should I stay here tonight? With a cold expression, Hua's father said, you're a grown man now, you decide your own affairs. Mr. Hua returned to his study just like that. 3 days passed. Hua Chongting wanted to call home several times, but each time he picked up the receiver, he had no idea how to explain things to that young woman. Every time Lin Lin called him daddy, it made him feel more and more uneasy. When Lin Lin called him dad once more, dropping the Hua from his name entirely, Hua Chongting finally lost his composure. Dr. Chi, since you're staying, we should transfer Lin Lin's household registration back to you. Chi Mushiwa, who was just then serving Hua Chongting some fruit, instantly turned ashen. The fruit platter clattered to the floor, scattering its contents everywhere. Lin Lin burst into tears. Daddy, don't you want me anymore? Mother Hua was startled by the commotion. Hua Chongting, what on earth has gotten into you this early in the morning? There was Lin Lin, screaming and crying. Chi Mushiwa, looking utterly wronged and heartbroken, and Mother Hua, glaring with fury in her eyes. Hua Chongting felt utterly exhausted. I'm heading back first. Once home, the noise in his head finally cleared. The note he had left for Su Jiwei on the table was gone. She must have seen it. She would be waiting for him to return. She's probably still at work right now. A sense of peace washed over him, and he fell asleep instantly. He had that dream again. In the dream, he and Su Jiwei were finally together, and they even had a child. It was a daughter, a beautiful girl who looked just like Su Jiwei, but he never had time for them. In fact, every time they needed him most, something would happen to Lin Lin and Qi Mushui. At first, the daughter resented him, but that feeling slowly transformed into a longing for him and a mix of envy and affection for Qi Mushui and Lin Lin. Finally, one day, even the child raised by Su Jiwei's own hands said to Qi Mushui, "Auntie Qi, I wish you were my mother." Hu Chongting felt like he couldn't breathe. It seemed he finally understood why she wanted a divorce. For the sake of this family, she sacrificed everything, only to be repaid with betrayal by her own kin on the day of their divorce. The only words he could say to her were "I'm sorry." She smiled and said it was okay. Streaks of white had appeared at her temples, and he couldn't bear to look. To make amends, he gave her nearly all the money he had. He had thought she would enjoy a happy old age, truly her own. But 3 months later, tragic news arrived. The dilapidated old house collapsed in the storm, trapping her beneath the rubble. It wasn't until 3 months later, when villagers cleared the debris, that they discovered a person buried underneath. No one knew how much she was suffering at that moment, nor did anyone know how long she had been struggling in agony down there. For 3 months, even her own daughter hadn't once remembered she had a mother. At that moment, his heart felt as if it were being squeezed tight, so tight he couldn't breathe. It wasn't until the village chief handed him a fountain pen. "This is Comrade Su's only keepsake." She was clutching it in her hand, and never let go, even in death. It must have been very important to her. Hu Chongting jolted awake, gasping for air. The dream felt so real, as if it had truly happened. Jiwei, Su Jiwei hasn't come back yet. She's probably still at the supply and marketing cooperative. He wanted to see her quickly, or he couldn't suppress the fear in his heart, but his hands trembled uncontrollably as he tried to get dressed. It wasn't just his hands, his legs had gone weak with fear, and he took a hard fall right at the doorway. He drove straight to the supply and marketing cooperative. On the way, for the first time, he traced the route she took to work. It's a 2-kilometer walk from the residential compound, followed by 2 bus transfers. The buses run infrequently, so to avoid being late, you have to budget a lot of extra time. The whole trip takes about 2.5 hours. It suddenly dawned on Hu Chongting. Was she really spending 5 hours every day just commuting to and from work? Why had she never told him? He could have easily driven her to and from work. Qi Mushua's commute was less than an hour. Yet he insisted on chauffeuring her every single day. A pang of guilt washed over Hu Chongting, but it was quickly drowned out by a surge of dread. He was terrified she would realize his unfairness towards her, terrified she would wake up and leave him. When he arrived at the supply and marketing cooperative, it was just about to close for the day. A staff member was using a fountain pen to record the accounts. That fountain pen looked somewhat familiar in the dream. That fountain pen, the one Su Jiwei clutched in her hand until her dying breath. "Where did you get this pen?" Hu Chongting tried to rein in his temper, but the raw, soldierly intensity in his demeanor still made the staff member flinch. The staff member was stunned. Wasn't this the handsome officer she and Su Jiwei had always gossiped about? "Jiwei gave this to me." Impossible. There's no way she would give it away. At that moment, Hu Chongting lost control, lunging forward and snatching the pen from the other person's hand. Ink splattered onto the staff member, who was furious. "I say, comrade, what do you think you're doing?" Hearing her angry shout, another staff member emerged from the back. The weather had turned chilly lately, and she had a silk scarf wrapped around her neck. Hu Chongting felt a pang of unease in his chest once more. "Where did you get this scarf?" He remembered that the day before Su Jiwei's birthday, he had gone to the department store specifically to buy her a red dress. On the way, Qi Mushua needed to see him about something, so he went over with the dress in hand. He was only gone for a few minutes, but when he returned, Qi Mushua was already wearing the red dress. Her face slightly flushed as she thanked him. "Chongting, I really love this dress, thank you." He wanted to say something, but the words wouldn't come out. Later, he went back to the mall and picked out a one-of-a-kind silk scarf, and now, that very scarf was tied around someone else's neck. "Su Jiwei, what on earth are you doing?" Hu Chongting was furious, and even snatched that scarf away. The 2 female comrades' eyes were red with anger. "A distinguished officer like you, and you'd stoop to snatching my scarf? Jiwei gave this to me." Finally, someone caught on. "Who are you to Jiwei?" Su Jiwei had been working here for over half a year. He had been here dozens of times, yet no one knew what he was to her. How ridiculous is that? "I am her husband. Everyone, tell Su Jiwei to come out." Hu Chongting was genuinely furious. How could she just give away the gift he had so carefully chosen for her? A nameless rage nearly consumed his reason. The two women exchanged a look. Jiwei resigned ages ago. Aren't you her husband? How could you not even know that? Oh, now I remember. You were probably busy accompanying that Dr. Chi, weren't you? No time to care about our Jiwei's affairs. No wonder Jiwei pretended not to know you at the supply and marketing co-op. Who wants a husband who's all tangled up with another woman? Hu Chongting froze in stunned silence. Is that how it was? The first time he had come to the supply and marketing cooperative was with Chi Mushiwei. Chi Mushiwei had said the goods here were cheaper than at the department store. So that's why they came. It was Su Jiwei's turn on duty that day. When she saw them, she went inside. He had always thought she didn't acknowledge him because she felt inferior. So, was that the reason? Hu Chongting left the supply and marketing cooperative, the fountain pen and silk scarf in hand. Suddenly, he felt a reluctance to return. He was afraid to go back and face that young woman, afraid to face his past neglect of her. He remembered the occasional, mocking curl at the corner of her lips, a memory that cut him to the heart. What he feared even more was that she would bring up divorce again. If she did, he felt he wouldn't even have the right to refuse. Wandering aimlessly like this, he roamed the streets for a long time. Only when night fell did he finally step through that door. Jiwei, I'm home. He pushed the door open to a dark and chilly room. No light was left on for him, no familiar scent of a home-cooked meal lingered, and the woman he longed to see was nowhere in sight. Jiwei, there was no answer. A sudden, inexplicable chill enveloped him completely. Only then did Hu Chongting realize what was missing from the room. The mountain of books she had piled on the desk was gone. Her clothes were missing from the wardrobe on the bed. The quilt and sheets were folded with military precision, as if no one had ever slept there. The entire room held not a single trace of her presence. It was as if she had never existed here at all. A wave of sheer, crushing terror washed over him. Dad. Hu Chongting rushed back to the Hu family home. Lin Lin and Chi Mushiwei hurried to greet him, but he didn't even see them and went straight upstairs. Dad, Mr. Hu sat in his study, leisurely turning the pages of a newspaper. When his son burst in without knocking, he didn't even glance up. Dad, where is Jiwei? You know, don't you? Only after finishing the entire page did Mr. Hu set the newspaper down and finally look up. 5 days, what? She's been gone for 5 days, and only now do you think of her? Mr. Hu was so angry he almost laughed. If you had any genuine remorse, I might have tried to mediate. Now, I see there's no point. He tossed a divorce agreement onto the table. Sign it. The moment Hu Chongting realized what it was, his mind went blank with a deafening roar. After watching how you've been with that mother and daughter these past few days, I finally understand just how much that child has suffered all these years. Our Hu family has wronged her. It's you who failed her. Just sign it. Let's clear the air around her for good. Hu Chongting had no recollection of how he left the study. He stood frozen at the top of the stairs, his mind a complete blank. Mom, did I really get rid of that stupid woman? Yay, now you can be with Dad Hu. Everything Uncle Hu gave her, I either snatched away or destroyed. When she got angry, I'd just cry, and Uncle Hu would always take my side. I deliberately cut up that stupid woman's mother's keepsake too. Serves her right for not letting me touch it. It was just a pile of junk, but she treasured it like it was priceless. Whatever she cherished, I destroyed. She had it coming for clinging to Uncle Hu and not letting go. How wicked. Mommy, does this mean you can be with Uncle Hu now? And I can be the Hu family's little princess, right? I was so scared that woman would have a baby and steal all the attention. This is perfect. TSK. An innocent, childlike voice was actually uttering such vicious and shameless words. Hu Chongting descended the stairs step by step in disbelief, spotting Lin Lin and Chi Mushiwei, who was looking at the girl with clear admiration. Hearing the sound on the stairs, the mother and daughter immediately fell silent. Seeing him, Lin Lin hurried back. She wrapped her arms around his leg, calling Daddy, and asking to be picked up. How familiar this scene feels. He looked at her, but all he could think of was that other girl. How deeply must her heart have been broken for her to file for divorce so resolutely, and all of this was the result of his own overprotection and indulgence towards this mother and daughter. Chongting, what's wrong? Lin Lin wants you to hold her. Chi Mushiwei walked over, a mix of amusement and reproach in her smile, as if he were truly Lin Lin's father, as if he truly had a father's duty to fulfill. Today, Mother Hu told her that Su Jiwei had already filed for divorce. That woman is gone, and she's never coming back. At least that didn't waste all her efforts in constantly provoking her. But you have to admit, that woman is really persistent. it took her this long to finally back down. She was never a good match for Hua Changting in the first place, completely lacking any self-awareness. From now on, I will be the Hua family's daughter-in-law, even if I never work again and lose the prestige of being a doctor who studied abroad. I'll still live a very comfortable life. At this thought, Qi Mushiwei grew even more composed, her features taking on a more delicate and charming cast. Hua Changting glanced at Qi Mushiwei, then lowered his gaze to look at Lin Lin. You've been wanting to force her out all along, haven't you? Are you satisfied now? Qi Mushiwei's face paled. Did he just hear that? She was panicking, but she couldn't back down. With just one look, Lin Lin burst into tears. Daddy, don't you want me anymore? Wah! A sudden smile broke across Hua Changting's face. His mouth was filled with a bitter taste. She was Lin Hai's only flesh and blood. How could he bear to see her cry? I'm sorry, it was my indulgence that made you think you could walk all over her and do as you pleased. Qi Mushiwei. Lin Lin, you deliberately cut up Aunt Sue's mother's keepsake. You still haven't apologized to her. Dr. Qi, you called Jiwei a motherless bastard. A nobody. Shouldn't you apologize to her too? And that slap, he could never forget the scene. He had grabbed Su Jiwei's wrist to stop her, only to let Qi Mushiwei seize the chance and slap her hard across the face. At that moment, there was no pain, no resentment, no anger in her eyes, only mockery, a cold, biting mockery. Hua Changting covered his face, not daring to dwell on it any longer. How utterly heartbroken and disappointed she was in him back then. She was right to divorce him. She simply wasn't good enough for him. Lin Lin found she could no longer cry. Qi Mushiwei opened her mouth, but no words came out. Mrs. Hua, who had been secretly watching the development of their relationship from behind, couldn't stand it any longer and rushed out. Hua Changting, how can you speak to someone like that? What does Su Jiwei amount to? Mushiwei is a master's graduate who studied abroad. Hua Changting stared fixedly at his mother, a bitter smile on his face. He seemed to understand Su Jiwei's heartbreak even more clearly now. Mom, Jiwei missed her college entrance exams to take care of you, yet you've always looked down on her job and kept saying she's useless. For the first time, Hua's mother was defied by her own son. Furious, she snapped, so what if she takes the college entrance exam? Could she ever measure up to Mushiwei? Hua Changting suddenly remembered the dream. In it, his mother was bedridden, and Su Jiwei had tirelessly cared for her for over a decade, yet his mother's dying words were that Su Jiwei wasn't good enough for him and should let him go. Hua Changting suddenly felt that it might not have been a dream, but something that had truly happened. The thought of Su Jiwei's death made his head spin, and he nearly collapsed on the spot. Changting, Mrs. Hua, and Qi Mushiwei each took one of his arms to support him. He pushed them aside and strode resolutely out of the Hua family gate. Just then, a military vehicle pulled up outside the Hua residence. Two soldiers got out, gave him a nod, and walked straight into the house. Is that Qi Mushiwei? We're here to investigate the matter of your fraudulent academic credentials. Please come with us. Qi Mushiwei panicked. I didn't do it. You're framing me. Changting, help me. Lin Hai died in your place. You promised him you'd take care of me. Hua Changting turned around and saw his father standing at the top of the stairs. In that instant, everything became clear to him. My time in the Gobi Desert was incredibly fulfilling. My teacher always said I had a natural talent for this. I gave it up, but only for the sake of my family. When I returned to it, I quickly caught up to my teacher's level. The Gobi Desert was harsh, with relentless winds and brutal conditions, yet, for the future of our motherland, thousands upon thousands of people pressed forward, one after another, leaving behind their families and even sacrificing their lives. Our teacher always said that the Eastern Dragon would one day reawaken, never to be bullied by others again. One day, the teacher called me aside and said that Hua Changting was looking for me. I've searched every corner of this land with all my heart. I understood what my teacher left unsaid. He wished for my happiness, but he also wished for me to stay. Looking at the new strands of white in his hair, I smiled and replied, Teacher, I only wish to follow in your and my mother's footsteps, and dedicate the rest of my life to our country. The teacher said nothing, but I still saw Hua Changting. It was 3 years later. He had become an ordinary non-commissioned officer assigned to guard the base. I saw him from a distance and did not acknowledge him, just as I had when I saw him at the supply and marketing cooperative. He spotted me instantly. Our eyes met, and it felt like a lifetime had passed. Senior, do you know him? I shook my head. I ignored the hope and longing in Hua Changting's eyes. Given his current status, he's in no position to get close to me. It was only after seeing my reaction that the teacher told me the rest of the story. Qi Mushiwei was investigated. Not only was her special talent status revoked, But she also faces imprisonment. It was the Hua family who pulled strings, with Hua Chongting sacrificing his own future to keep her out of prison. Although Qi Mushiwei avoided prison, she was still exiled to the great northern wilderness, and Lin Lin went with her. It was only right for Hua Chongting to repay the debt of gratitude. Seeing that I truly harbored no ill feelings, the teacher was finally put at ease. The research work was both demanding and fulfilling. A decade passed in the blink of an eye. My mentor, worn down by overwork, entrusted everything to me. After bidding farewell to my mentor's remains, I took over all of his duties. The higher-ups assigned me a security detail. I will personally select the captain of the guard this time. Hua Chongting could finally stand before me with full legitimacy. He ranked first in the overall assessment. I could even see the urgency and longing in his eyes, but that day, I chose second place. I never remarried, devoting my entire life to the country. Years of overwork took their toll, and my health steadily declined. After one final collapse, my flame finally burned out. But it's alright. My mission is almost complete, just a little bit more to go. Summoning my last strength, I asked a student to bring me paper and pen so I could continue calculating the data. Let me in, Ji Wei, I beg you. I just want to see you one last time. Who's making all that racket outside? My hearing seems to be fading. All my focus is on the tip of my pen. Almost there. Just a little more. The pen keeps moving, slowly but surely, sketching out the final image in my mind. Colonel Hua, calm down. We're just one step away. Dr. Su is about to finish her verification. This final stretch of time is truly precious. Every single second she has is tied to the nation's future. Finally, silence fell outside, and my mind cleared a little. With my last ounce of strength, I tried to think of what was still missing. What else remained? I shall bequeath all my knowledge to future generations. With the final formula written, I passed away content and at peace in this life. I had neither love nor family, yet I found it all worthwhile. In my final moments, I seemed to see the space station soaring into the sky, witnessed the successful launch of intercontinental missiles, and watched as swarms of drones blanketed the entire battlefield. Our victory no longer needs to be built upon flesh and blood. Professor, Senior, Dr. Su, the sound grew fainter. My spirit began to drift. I saw the kneeling students. I saw the soldiers bowing. I also saw Hua Chongting, who had been standing outside the door all along. He stood there, as still as an ice sculpture. An autumn breeze brushed past his cheek, as if sensing something. He looked up at me. Ji Wei, I died on the same day as my past life. On the day of my funeral, my colleagues, my students, and a vast contingent of soldiers escorted my spirit back to my homeland. I was laid to rest beside my father and mother. The world finally understood that our family's unwavering loyalty had brought honor to both our lineage and our nation. The cemetery was blanketed with flowers. In the end, this life was worth living. As the joss paper burned to ashes, people gradually departed, leaving only Hua Chongting standing steadfast in the autumn wind. Su Ji Wei, in this lifetime, why did you forsake me? He clutched the fountain pen in his hand, his desolate voice trembling with sorrow. That night, his hair turned white. The end. Story 2. Born with a stutter, I was mocked by the mistress in front of everyone. Why you can't even speak P properly. How dare you call yourself Mrs. Liu? She mimicked the way I spoke, drawing roars of laughter from the entire room. I slapped her right there in front of everyone. The next second, my husband Lu Yen kicked me in the stomach. The excruciating pain made me vomit blood. In my daze, I heard his icy voice. Apologize to Cece, get on your knees. You have no right to cause trouble for her. I lay in a pool of my own blood, watching him help his mistress to her feet and gently wipe the tears from her face. In that moment, I laughed. So, 3 years of marriage couldn't withstand a single tear from her. With my last ounce of strength, I signed the divorce papers that had been ready and waiting. Lu Yan's expression darkened. Shenqing, how dare you? 01. All of this happened at the anniversary gala of the Lu group. Hundreds of pairs of eyes watched as I was kicked to the ground, vomiting blood uncontrollably. The cause was simple. Lu Yan's beloved, Su Cece, mocked me in front of everyone. Oh, Ching, don't be so nervous. She was deliberately mimicking my speech, dragging out each word in a long, strange way, like she was performing a comedy sketch. A few people in the audience had already begun to snicker. I can know you. You have a S speech impediment. B but as Mrs. Liu, you really. Should say a few words. Alright. She covered her mouth, but her eyes crinkled into crescents, clearly relishing the moment. The audience erupted in laughter. Some people even pulled out their phones to start recording. My hands trembled slightly at my sides. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. Su Cece, please show us some respect. Damn this stutter. It only gets worse when I'm nervous. Every word felt like it was being painfully forced out of my throat. Sissy covered her mouth, her laughter tinkling like a bell. Oh my, I am not being disrespectful at all. She paused deliberately, sweeping her gaze across the room to make sure she had everyone's attention. It's just that I think it's such a shame, a real pity that President Liu ended up marrying a stuttering idiot. She emphasized the word idiot with particular venom. It felt like a knife, plunging straight into my heart. The laughter from the audience grew even louder. Someone whispered, "So, Mrs. Liu stutters, no wonder she never appears in public. She's not good enough for Mr. Liu, is she? Sissy is so much prettier. She's a returnee from a top university abroad and speaks 3 languages. I heard this Shinqing didn't even go to college, right?" Each word felt like a needle piercing my heart. I couldn't take it anymore and slapped her, with a sharp crack. Sissy was stunned by the blow. She covered her cheek, tears instantly welling up, and her voice turned pitifully frail. "Brother Luyan, that cry was delicate and plaintive, like a little girl who had suffered a grievous wrong." Lu Yan rushed up from the audience. "I thought he would shield me. After all, I am his lawfully wedded wife. After all, for 3 years, he had promised countless times to protect me. After all, just this morning, he kissed my forehead and promised a surprise for tonight, but he didn't even look at me, just kicked me square in the stomach. He put his full force behind that kick. I was sent flying and hit the ground hard. My stomach churned violently, and a mouthful of blood sprayed out, splattering across the pristine marble floor in a shocking, visceral display. Lu Yan." I stared at him in disbelief. He looked at me coldly, his eyes devoid of any warmth. "Apologize to Sissy, on your knees. You have no right to trouble her." "So, I have no right. I am his wife, yet I have no right to defend my own dignity. I am his wife, yet I mean less to him than a stranger too." A deathly silence fell all around. Everyone was stunned by the scene. I could feel countless eyes on me, some shocked, some sympathetic, but most brimming with the thrill of watching a spectacle. Lu Yan supported Sissy, carefully examining her face. "Does it hurt? Let me take you to the hospital." Leaning into his embrace, Sissy wept pitifully, her tears falling like pear blossoms in the rain. "Brother Lu Yan, I really didn't mean any harm. I just wanted to lighten the mood. I know, it's not your fault," Lu Yan said gently, wiping her tears away. "She was the one who went too far." I lay on the ground, the taste of blood filling my mouth. The pain in my abdomen came in waves, relentless and unending, but no one came to help me up. No one asked if I was in pain. I struggled to get up, only to find my body completely drained of strength. That's when I saw the document in my bag, the divorce papers. I had planned to wait until after the celebration to find the right moment to talk to him. I never expected fate to hand me such a golden opportunity. Summoning all my strength, I pulled the agreement from my bag and, with trembling hands, flipped to the signature page. Lu Yan." He turned his head impatiently. "What? Ready to admit you were wrong? Then get on your knees and apologize. Sissy has a soft heart. She'll forgive you." I laughed until tears streamed from my eyes. Divorce. I flung the agreement at his feet. Lu Yan's expression changed instantly. He left Sissy behind, strode over, and snatched up the document. After reading it, his face turned ashen. "Shinqing, have you lost your mind? You want a divorce over something this trivial? Do you think divorce is some kind of game?" With great effort, I signed my name on the agreement, each stroke deliberate and painfully clear. It's signed. You just sign it." Lu Yan suddenly crouched down and grabbed my chin. "Shinqing, are you threatening me? You think I'd bow my head to you over this? In your dreams." He tore the agreement to shreds, the pieces fluttering down like snow. "This divorce is not happening." I said so. 3. When I came to, I was already in the hospital. A dull ache throbbed in my abdomen, and the taste of blood filled my mouth. The hospital room was quiet, save for the steady beep of the monitors. Lu Yan sat by the bed, working on some documents. He didn't even look up when he saw I was awake. "You're awake. The doctor said you had internal bleeding." It was almost a serious situation. His tone was flat, as if he were commenting on the weather. "Now that you're awake, you should reflect on your own behavior." He finally looked up, his gaze icy. "Shinqing, you've gone too far. Sissy was just joking. What gives you the right to hit her?" I stared at him, stunned. 3 years. We've been married for 3 years. He's still the same. He always takes Sissy's side. She's been spoiled since she was a child. After that slap from you, she cried all night. He continued. She says her face still hurts and it might scar. I want you to apologize to her in person. Get on your knees and apologize. Get on your knees. He wants me to get on my knees again. I laughed until I cried. Lu Yan, that kick you gave me. I almost died. I pointed at the medical chart by the bed. Internal bleeding. Do you even know that? The doctor said. If I'd been any later, I wouldn't have made it. He frowned. Stop the act. The doctor said it's just a minor bruise. Besides, who told you to throw the first punch? You hit Cece. Of course I had to get justice for her. Justice? He wants to get justice for Cece. Then who will get justice for me? I close my eyes. The last flicker of hope in my heart has gone out completely. 3 years I thought he loved me, or at least that he liked me. I thought he would protect me, just as he had promised. So it turns out, in his heart, I wasn't even worth a single strand of Cece's hair. Divorce. I said it clearly this time, without a stutter. Lu Yen was stunned. What did you say? I said, divorce. I pulled out the second copy of the divorce papers I had prepared long ago from under the pillow. Sign it. Lu Yan's face instantly changed. He snatched the agreement and tried to tear it up. I grabbed his hand. It's no use. I have many copies. Tear this one up. And there's always another. Lu Yan's hand froze in midair. He stared at me intently. Shen-Qing, you were prepared all along. You've been waiting for this opportunity. I nodded. Yes, I've been waiting for so long. 04. Lu Yan stood up, looking down at me. Shen-Qing, stop this nonsense. You want a divorce over something this trivial? Have you lost your mind? A minor thing. Being humiliated in front of hundreds of people is a minor thing. Being kicked until I coughed up blood is a minor thing. Making me kneel down and apologize is also a minor thing. So, what is a big deal? Then, I asked him, is a single tear from Cece considered a big deal? Lu Yan turned away impatiently. Shen-Qing, I don't have time for your nonsense. When you've calmed down, remember to apologize to Cece, she said. She'd forgive you, as long as your apology is sincere. He reached the door, then turned back. Oh, and don't bring up divorce again. Who'd want a stutterer like you if you left me? Just stay home quietly and don't embarrass me. He finished speaking and left. I was alone in the hospital room. The silence was terrifying. I took out my phone and sent a message to my lawyer. File for divorce. The sooner, the better. The lawyer replied quickly. You'll need to gather evidence. Do you have any? I stared at the phone screen, my hands trembling slightly as I typed. Yes, for 3 years, I've had it all. Yes, I have proof. It's not just the surveillance footage from tonight. There's also the harm he's inflicted on me for Cece's sake. Every single time over these past 3 years, recordings of every argument, the medical report from every injury. I've kept them all because I always knew this day would come. 5. The next day, Cece arrived. She was wearing a white dress, looking as pure and innocent as a white lotus. She was also carrying a basket of fruit. Sis Qing, are you feeling any better? She sat on the edge of the bed, her face full of concern. Her expression was the very picture of sincerity. I'm really sorry about yesterday. I shouldn't have made that kind of joke. Her head was bowed, and her voice trembled as she said, I was just trying to lighten the mood. I didn't think you'd get so upset, but you were so impulsive. You actually hit me. She touched her still slightly swollen cheek. It really hurt. Brother Lu Yan scolded me for a long time. Because of this, I stared at her coldly, watching her performance. Cece, what are you trying to pull? The smile on her face froze for a moment, then she resumed her innocent expression. Sister Qingqing, what do you mean by that? I came here to sincerely apologize. 3 years ago, when you were leaving the country, you begged me through your tears to look after Lu Yan. I said, enunciating every word, you said you were just friends, that I had nothing to worry about, and now you're back. And this is how you look after him. Cece dropped her act and let out a cold sneer. She stood up, smoothing her skirt with practiced grace. Shen-Qing, why do you think Lu Yan married you? Finally, she let the mask slip. Because you remind him of me. Your eyes, your figure, they're just like mine from 3 years ago. You're nothing but my stand-in. She walked to the window, the sunlight falling across her delicate profile. I went abroad to become a better version of myself. I have it all, education, eloquence, class, and you. She looked back at me, her eyes full of contempt. 3 years, and you haven't changed a bit. Still a country bumpkin who can't even string a sentence together. I knew it all along. The first time we met, Lu Yan said my eyes reminded him of someone. The way he looked at me then was so tender. It could melt your heart, but that tenderness was never meant for me. It's meant for someone else, through me. So what? I asked calmly. What do you want? I want you to leave Lu Yan. Cece walked to the bedside and looked down at me. A stutterer like you, fit to be Mrs. Lu, you'll only bring shame to Lu Yan. The entire high society is laughing at him for marrying a mute. I smiled and said, all right, I've already filed a lawsuit. Cece was stunned. What? A lawsuit for divorce? I said slowly. Didn't you want me to leave? I'll grant you your wish. Cece's expression flickered with a moment of panic. She seemed taken aback by how Readily I agreed, but his smug expression quickly returned. You know what's good for you. She walked to the door, then turned back. Oh, right, Brother Luyan says after you're discharged, you have to come and apologize to me, at his company, in front of everyone on your knees, he said. This is your last chance. 06 I didn't go to apologize. After being discharged from the hospital, I went straight back to my parents' house. It's my first time back to my parents' home in 3 years. The moment my mother saw me, her eyes welled up with tears. How did you get so thin? Her hand trembled as she touched my face. You look so pale. Where's Luyan? Why didn't he come back with you? I shook my head. Mom, I want a divorce. Mom was stunned. She helped me sit down and poured a glass of warm water. Take your time. There's no rush. I told her everything that had happened ever since I got married 3 years ago, ever since the first time I laid eyes on Susisi, ever since each and every humiliation. As she listened, Mother trembled with rage. That bastard. She shot to her feet. I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. He made all those pretty promises, saying he'd take good care of you for a lifetime, and now, what does he take you for? I grabbed her arm. Mom, don't go. I've already hired a lawyer. There's going to be a lawsuit. Dad came out of the study, his face grim. He sat down and remained silent for a long time. Good riddance, he finally spoke. A man like that isn't worth it. His father was a renowned surgeon in the capital, and his mother was a university professor. They're all highly educated people, and this sort of thing is the last thing they can stand. They never approved of me marrying Luyan in the first place. They said he had a shifty look in his eyes and wasn't a reliable man, but I was blinded by love and insisted on marrying him. Sweetheart, your mom and I are behind you. Dad patted my shoulder and said, we don't have to put up with this. For your stutter, I'll find the best doctor to help you. You're going to be just fine. My mother held me and said, my daughter is so exceptional. She deserves nothing but the best. Luyan is not good enough for you. 7 That very night, Luyan called. The moment the call connected, he was already shouting, Shenqing, what the hell is this supposed to mean? You had a lawyer's letter sent to my company. Do you want the whole world to know we're getting a divorce? Are you trying to ruin me? Is that it? I said calmly. Yes, Shenqing. He roared over the phone. Don't you dare push your luck. 3 years. What have I ever done to wrong you? You live in a mansion, drive luxury cars, use only the finest things. Who else would have married you with that defect of yours, if not for me? A defect. So, in his mind, my stutter was just a defect. So, him marrying me was an act of charity. So, just sign it. In your dreams, Luyan said viciously. Let me make this clear. You're not getting this divorce. I have the best legal team money can buy. What can a stutterer like you possibly do against me? Just give it up. He hung up the phone. I looked at my phone, feeling an unexpected sense of calm. It's fine. The court will decide. I have evidence. What's more, I have a secret he doesn't know about. 8 Luyan started pestering me. I ignored the dozens of calls he made every day, so he started waiting for me downstairs. He even brought roses, like something straight out of a cheesy drama. Mom went downstairs to take out the trash and was stopped by him. Auntie, I'm here to take Ching home. He put on a gentle mask. We just had a little lover's quarrel. Please don't take it seriously. Mom sneered. Home? Which home? When you kicked her until she coughed up blood. Did it ever cross your mind that she was your wife when you forced her to kneel? Did you for 1 second remember she was your wife? Luyan frowned. Auntie, that was a misunderstanding. Ching threw the first punch. I was just, and what? His mother cut him off. Just to be with another woman, you'd leave your wife. Luyan, you're not good enough for my daughter. Please leave. Her mother turned and walked away without a word. Luyan called after her. Ching is just throwing a tantrum. She can't live without me. Who else would want a stutterer like her? Besides me. His mother stopped in her tracks and turned to look at him. Her gaze was as sharp as a knife. Luyan, mark my words, my daughter deserves the very best love this world has to offer, and you can't give that to me. She walked away without looking back. Luyan tried to follow, but was stopped by a security guard. All he could do was continue shouting from downstairs. Shenqing, come out here. Let's talk this out properly. 3 years together, and you can just let it go. Just like that. I stood by the window, watching him down below. I loved this man so much. I loved him enough to give up everything for him. I loved him enough to endure humiliation. But now, I just find him pathetic. 9 I've started therapy. The doctor says my stutter is largely psychological childhood trauma, compounded by the stress of recent years. Relax, don't be nervous. The doctor gently guided me, saying, take your time, there's no rush, you have to believe that you can do this well. I practiced over and over again. Start with the simplest syllables, 1 word, 1 phrase, 1 sentence. Gradually, I found my speech becoming much more fluent. It turns out, leaving Luyan cured half of my ailment. Around the same time, I started sorting Through the life I'd lived over the past 3 years, flipping through the photo album, all the pictures were of me alone. Lu Yan rarely took photos with me. On the rare occasions we did, he wore a blank expression, as if he were just checking off a task. Our wedding photo hangs in the bedroom, but he never looks at it. He stopped wearing our wedding ring a long time ago. He says it's inconvenient for work, but I've seen him wearing the watch Su Sisi gave him. That watch cost a lot more than the wedding ring. The signs were there all along, plain as day. I just didn't want to see them. My phone rang. It was Lu Yan's mother, Qingqing. Come to the house. Her voice was as imperious as ever. There are some things we need to discuss face to face. I thought it over and went anyway. Some matters just have to be settled once and for all. 10. The Lu family villa. The place I called home for 3 years. I pushed the door open. In the living room. It wasn't just Mrs. Lu. Su Sisi was there too. She sat beside Lu's mother, as close and intimate as a real mother and daughter. Qingqing is here. Lu's mother smiled a thin, insincere smile. I heard you're getting a divorce. I nodded. Over something so trivial. Mrs. Lu picked up her teacup and said unhurriedly, Qingqing, don't be so willful. Lu Yan is a good man. You should appreciate him. Countless women would love to marry him and can't. I looked at her. He kicked me. Did you know, Mrs. Lu dismissed it. Men, it's normal for them to have a bit of a temper. Besides, you were in the wrong to begin with. She glanced at Su Sisi. How could you lay a hand on someone as innocent as Sisi? Su Sisi dabbed at her eyes at just the right moment. Auntie, please don't blame Qingqing. It's all my fault. I just wanted to play a little joke on Qingqing. I never thought she'd take it so much to heart. Mother Lu hugged her, her heart aching. Silly child, how could this possibly be your fault? She turned to me, her voice turning cold. Qingqing, just apologize. Let's just put this behind us. From now on, live a good life and stop making a scene. I stood up. No way. Madame Lu's expression darkened. Qingqing, don't be so ungrateful. With your condition, who else but our Lu family would have you? A stutterer. And you're still being picky. Just who do you think you are? I took a deep breath. This time, I spoke with exceptional clarity. I would rather never marry. Not a marriage like this. Mother Lu sprang to her feet. If you dare walk out that door, don't you ever think about coming back. I turned and walked away without a second glance. From behind me came Mrs. Lu's furious shout. You don't know what's good for you. Just you wait. You'll regret this. Without the Lu family, you're nothing. Su Sisi's voice was sweet and cooing. Auntie, please don't be angry. Sister Qingqing is just being stubborn for the moment. Once she runs into trouble out there, she'll realize how good brother Lu Yan is. I didn't look back. The moment I stepped out of the Lu family's house, I felt a sense of relief like never before. 11. My lawyer informed me that Lu Yan would not agree to a divorce by mutual agreement. We would have to go through litigation. This might take a little while, the lawyer said. The Lu family has some influence in the capital, but don't worry, we have sufficient evidence, the hospital's medical report, and the surveillance footage from the anniversary celebration. There are also testimonies from many other people. There were a lot of people present that day, and many of them were appalled by what they saw. They are willing to come forward and testify. It will take 3 months at most, and a verdict is guaranteed. I nodded. Thank you. As I stepped out of the law firm, my phone rang with an unknown number. Is this Ms. Qingqing? The man's voice was gentle. I'm Qin Ci. From Jinghua Investment. I hear you're an interior designer. We have a project here we'd like you to be involved in. Jinghua Investment, a top-tier investment firm in the industry. I was a bit taken aback. For the past 3 years, I've hardly worked at all. Lu Yan wouldn't let me work, saying that Mrs. Lu had no need to be out in public. But it's been 3 years since It's fine. Qin Ci cut me off. I've seen your previous work. It's exceptional. If it's convenient, would you like to come in for an interview tomorrow? After hanging up the phone, I felt a bit dazed. 3 years ago, I was just beginning to make a name for myself in the design world, all because I married Lu Yan. I gave up my career. He said, Mrs. Lu doesn't need to work. He said he would take care of me for the rest of my life. But now, the next day, I went to Jinghua Investment. Qin Ci was younger and more refined than I had imagined. A flicker of surprise crossed his eyes when he saw me. So you are Qingqing? I nodded. He smiled. It's true what they say, seeing is believing. Your work has a wonderful, spirited quality to it. He flipped through my portfolio. What a shame you haven't done any design work these past 3 years. I felt a bit embarrassed. I might need some time to get back into the swing of things. No problem. Qin Ci smiled and said, take your time. By the way, I heard you're working in speech therapy. I was taken aback. You, how did you know? I have a friend who is a speech therapist. Qin Ci said, if needed, I can introduce you to her. She is very professional. I nodded gratefully. Stepping out of the office, I felt a sense of relief I hadn't known in a Long time, perhaps a new chapter of my life has already begun. 12 Lu Yan has lost his mind. He started showing up everywhere I went. When I went to the hospital for a follow-up, he was there. When I went to the therapist's office, he was there. When I went to Jinghua Investment, he was there too. Shenqing, come home with me. He blocked the company in trance. Stop this nonsense. It's been 3 years. We have feelings for each other. I walked right past him and left. He grabbed me by the arm. What do you want from me? You want an apology? Is that it? Fine, I apologize. I shouldn't have kicked you that day. Alright, I looked at him. Too late. Too late for what? Lu Yan frowned. It was just a kick. I've already apologized. What more do you want? Do you know what people are saying about me out there? They say I'm a wife beater, that I'm a scumbag. You've completely ruined my reputation. I want a divorce, I said, enunciating each word clearly. I want a divorce. Lu Yan's face darkened. Shenqing, don't push me. Push you to do what? I sneered, trying to make you kick me again, or force me to my knees. Lu Yan took a deep breath. That day was an accident. Cece, enough. I cut him off. Don't mention her again. Lu Yan, it's her you love. Then go find her. Leave me alone. I don't love her. Lu Yan suddenly shouted. It's you I love. Everyone around turned to look. I found it laughable. Love me. So you love me. And that's why you hit me. So you love me. And that's why you make me kneel. So you love me. And that's why you call me a sick mess. So you love me. And that's why for 3 years you defended another woman at every turn. Lu Yan was left speechless just then. Qin Ci emerged from the company building. Shenqing, are you alright? He stepped in front of me, shielding me. Lu Yan narrowed his eyes. Who are you? Qin Ci, a friend of Shenqing's. Qin Ci said calmly. And a business partner, a friend. Lu Yan sneered. Shenqing, you work fast. Already found someone else. I couldn't be bothered with him and turned to leave. Lu Yan's furious roar came from behind me. Shenqing, get back here. You're my wife. Qin Ci blocked him. Mr. Lu, have some self-respect. If this continues, I'll call the police. 13 After that day, Lu Yan kept a low profile for a while. I thought he had finally come to his senses. That was, until Su Cece showed up at my door. Shenqing, are you really going to get a divorce? She sat in the cafe, elegantly stirring her coffee. I thought you were just saying it. I didn't want to deal with her and got up to leave. You know what? She said abruptly. Lu Yan has been at my place every night these past few days. I stopped in my tracks. He said you two are already separated. Su Cece smiled triumphantly. He said he'll marry me once he's divorced. She took out her phone and showed me a photo. In the photo, Lu Yan was lying on a bed, his clothes in disarray. The background was Su Cece's bedroom. Took this last night. She smiled sweetly. He was drunk, kept calling your name, but the one he was holding was me. I looked at the photo, and my heart was already still. Well, isn't that perfect? I turned to look at her. Haven't you always wanted the title of Mrs. Lu? Su Cece's expression changed. What do you mean? Exactly what I said. I sat back down. Su Cece, I'll step aside for you too, but there's something you probably don't know. What is it? Lu Yan, he's actually infertile, I said calmly. It's been 3 years, and we still don't have a child. It's not my problem, Su. Cece's face instantly went pale. You lied to me, believe it or not. I stood up. Well, you're together now anyway. You'll find out soon enough. Oh, and one more thing. I turned to look at her. Lu Corporation's cash flow has hit a snag recently. He's been borrowing money left and right. Did you know that? Su Cece froze. I gave a slight smile. Good luck with that. 14 The court summons has arrived. The court date is set for 1 month from now. Lu Yan finally panicked. He went to my parents' workplace and caused a scene. He accused me of cheating and said I was after his money. Security threw him out, so he just stood at the entrance yelling and screaming. Shenqing is a total slut. 3 years of marriage, and you haven't earned a single penny. Now that you want a divorce, you suddenly want a share of my assets. Dad was so furious he was about to hit him, but was held back by a colleague. Mom, however, remained calm. Let him make a scene. The bigger the scandal, the better it is for us. Sure enough, Lu Yan's actions were caught on camera and spread online. Lu Group CEO goes mad for love. Inside the collapse of a high society marriage, domestic abuser throws a public tantrum. Public opinion begins to boil over. Someone dug up the full anniversary celebration video. It's crystal clear in the video that Lu Yan was the one who kicked me. I saw myself coughing up blood and collapsing. I saw him helping Su Cece leave. The internet exploded. Abusers must die. My heart goes out to this girl. Lu Yan is a real piece of work. So this is the infamous scumbag. The other woman is no saint either. The Lu family's stock price began to fall. The board of directors put pressure on Lu Yan. Lu's mother called to berate me. Shenqing, you have such a cruel heart. Do you want to destroy the Lu family? I only said 4 words. It has nothing to do with me. He's the one who chose to make a scene. He's the one who acted disgracefully. 15. A week before the court hearing, I received a document. It was my grandfather's will. I had almost forgotten about it. When I got married 3 years ago, my grandfather was still alive. He never liked Lu Yen, but he couldn't win against my stubbornness. On his deathbed, he said he wanted to leave me something, in case life ever becomes too much to bear. At least you'll have a way out. I opened the file and was stunned. What my grandfather left me was a 30% stake in the Shin Group. The Shin Group is the second largest real estate company in the capital, a business empire he built from the ground up. Because my father had no interest in business, it has always been managed by professional executives. A 30% stake makes me the largest individual shareholder. The market cap exceeds 5 billion, the lawyer said. Old Mr. Shin said, this is your dowry. It just comes with a 3-year lockup period. It's just expired. I looked at the document, and tears fell. Grandpa had seen it coming all along. He knew this marriage wouldn't last, so he left me a way out, a golden path. If Lu Yen knew, would he regret it? He always thought I was just a girl from an ordinary family. I always thought I wasn't good enough for him. Little did I know, my grandfather is Old Master Shen, the legendary figure who once dominated the business world, the self-made magnate who built a commercial empire from nothing. 16. On the day of the hearing, Lu Yen arrived with his top-tier legal team. Su Cece was also there. Seated in the public gallery, she had dressed for the occasion in a black suit, looking every bit the proper wife. Lu Yan's gaze towards me was complicated. There was anger, resentment, and a trace of panic. Yes, panic, because his company was already teetering on the brink. The capital chain snapped, and the stock price plummeted. He needed to win this lawsuit to save face. The judge asked, plaintiff, please state your grounds for divorce. I stood up and took a deep breath. The treatment over the past month has shown significant results. I can now speak very fluently. Domestic violence, I stated clearly. The defendant assaulted me in a public setting. It caused internal bleeding and required a week-long hospital stay. This is the hospital's medical report. I submitted the evidence. This is the surveillance footage. The large screen clearly displayed the footage from that day. Lu Yen kicked me square in the stomach. I was sent flying, coughing up blood. He helped Su Cece up and they left together. The courtroom erupted in an uproar. Lu Yan's lawyer retorted, that was not domestic violence. It was just a momentary, impulsive shove. A shove. My lawyer stood up and said, please review the surveillance footage. The defendant kicked the plaintiff in the abdomen. The plaintiff vomited blood on the spot. You call that a shove? The judge looked at Lu Yen. Defendant, do you admit to striking the plaintiff? Lu Yen was silent for a few seconds. She threw the first punch. She hit Cece. Who is Su Cece? The judge asked. She's a friend. What kind of friend is worth hitting your wife for? Lu Yen was speechless. My lawyer continued, Your Honor, we have evidence to show that the defendant has an inappropriate relationship with Ms. Su Cece. This constitutes emotional infidelity. He produced a stack of photographs. They were all intimate photos of Lu Yen and Su Cece. Su Cece was getting restless in the public gallery. Lu Yan's expression grew increasingly grim. 17. When the court adjourned, Lu Yen sought me out. Shin Qing, please stop this. His tone was almost pleading. Please drop the lawsuit. I promise I'll treat you better from now on. I won't see Cece again. Let's start over. Okay. I looked at him and felt like I was looking at a stranger. This man was once my entire world. Now, he feels utterly foreign. It's too late, I said, shaking my head. Then what do you want? He grew a little impatient. Money, a house, I'll give you anything. Just drop the lawsuit. I looked at him and said, I don't want anything, just my freedom. Lu Yen suddenly grabbed my hand. Shin Qing, I was wrong. I was really wrong. I shouldn't have hit you, and I shouldn't have made you apologize. Cece, there's nothing between us really. You have to believe me. I shook his hand off. Lu Yen, don't you get it? It's not her fault, it's yours. I was never the most important person in your heart. I was just a stand-in, a talking doll. I had to be there whenever you needed me. I'll disappear when you don't need me. This isn't love, it's captivity. 18. The hearing resumed after the recess, and the judge asked the final question. Does either side have anything further to add? My lawyer stood up and said, yes, the plaintiff is seeking compensation from the defendant for emotional distress based on the plaintiff's social standing and position. He paused, and the entire courtroom fell silent. The plaintiff is the largest shareholder of the Shin Group, holding a 30% stake, valued at approximately 5 billion. The courtroom erupted in an uproar. Lu Yen stared at me, wide-eyed. Su Cece looked even more shocked. Lu's mother stood up in the gallery. Impossible. How could she possibly be from the Shin family? My lawyer continued, this is the share certificate. Ms. Shin Qing is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Shin. 3 years ago, before his passing, Mr. Shin bequeathed 30% of the company's shares to her as a dowry. The lockup period is over. The shares are now officially vested. Lu Yan's face went as white as a sheet. Finally, he understood. I am not some little woman who needs to cling to him. I have my own confidence and standing, my lawyer continued. Therefore, we demand the defendant pay 10 million in compensation for emotional distress. The damage to the plaintiff's reputation is immeasurable. A woman with a net worth of 5 billion was publicly humiliated and assaulted. For psychological damage like this, 10 million isn't even enough. The courtroom erupted in an uproar once more. Lu Yan was utterly dumbstruck. Su Sisi was equally stunned. Mother Lu slumped into her chair, utterly defeated. 19. The court's verdict arrived swiftly. The divorce was granted. Lu Yan owes me 5 million in compensation for emotional distress regarding assets. Due to the prenuptial agreement, we each keep our own separate property. However, the villa under Lu Yan's name was purchased after our marriage. It counts as marital property, so I'm entitled to half. As they left the courthouse, Lu Yan caught up to her. Shenqing, you lied to me. His eyes were red. You've been lying to me all along. Lied about what? Your identity, your background. You never told me. If I had known you were from the Shen family, I cut him off. If you had known, would you have treated me better? If you had known, would you still have kicked me? If you had known, would you still have made me kneel? Lu Yan was at a loss for words. Lu Yan, it was never me you loved. What you love is yourself. It's your pride, your status. Now that you know who I am, do you regret it? Too late. I turned to leave. Lu Yan suddenly dropped to his knees, right there at the courthouse entrance, in front of everyone. Shenqing, I was wrong. Please forgive me. Give me another chance. I'll treat you right. I swear. I looked down at him. This man who once stood so high and mighty now kneels before me, yet my heart remains utterly unmoved. Lu Yan, do you remember you told me to get on my knees and apologize to Su Sisi? You said I wasn't worthy. Now, I'm telling you, you don't deserve my forgiveness. I stepped around him and strode away. From behind me came Lu Yan's heart-wrenching cry. Shenqing, come back. I was wrong. I was truly wrong. Please, I'm begging you, give me another chance. Shenqing, I did not look back. Some paths, once you take a wrong turn, offer no chance to turn back. Some wounds, once inflicted, can never be undone. The end. That's all for the first story. Don't go away. The next one is even more thrilling. It was the 3rd month of my Cold War with my actor boyfriend when we were invited onto a variety show that required us to call the person we loved most. In a fit of pique, he called his assistant Lin Ran, sending the entire internet into a frenzy. Meanwhile, I dialed an unknown number to call my mom in another world, becoming the laughingstock of the internet. Pei Lu sneered, you're an orphan. Where did you get a mother from? You'd even hire someone to pretend to be your mom just to save face. You have no shame. Without a word, and under his mocking gaze, I rushed to the window and jumped. The system had just said if I die in this world, I can go home and be reunited with my mother. 1. To save face, they'd even hire someone to impersonate their own mother. How low can you go, host? Once your body in this world dies, you can go home. 2 voices spoke at the same time. I stared blankly ahead, lost in thought for a moment. Pei Lu, however, thought I was looking at him and let out a contemptuous snort. What? Don't tell me you don't even have someone you love most. How pathetic. His words prompted a round of mocking laughter from everyone present. I was the only one who couldn't bring myself to smile. He wasn't wrong. Ever since I arrived in this world and accepted the mission to win him over, my life has revolved entirely around him. All to complete the mission quickly, return home, and cure my mother. I had no time for friends. I could only rely on him like a frail, clinging daughter vine. I was even mocked online as the world's most tenacious chewing gum. In the years Pei Lu loved me most, he loved to hold me and make promises. Ayun, I'll be with you for the rest of my life. We'll never be apart. I believed him, until the first time I caught him kissing Lin Ran. He gave me a half-hearted explanation, but his eyes were fixed on Lin Ran, whose cheeks were flushed with embarrassment. It was just a lost game. Can you stop being so paranoid? There's nothing between us. Don't make it sound so sordid. We had a huge fight then. 3 months ago, I caught them again, coming out of the bathroom in their bathrobes. I couldn't lie to myself anymore. He offered no explanation, instead deliberately pulling Lin Ran closer. All you do is argue, argue, argue. Why can't you be more like Ran, sweet and obedient? In that moment, it finally dawned on me it was time to end this task. I can't go on with it either. Fortunately, the system didn't force me to complete it and readily agreed to cancel the task. It even agreed to cure my mother, just as originally promised. With that, all my worries vanished. Coming back to my senses, the system's voice echoed in my mind once more. Host, your mother asked me to tell you that she misses you dearly. My nose tingled, and my eyes welled up with tears. Yes, I have someone I love. I have my mom. I miss her so much. I think, I want to go home, The words slipped out in a murmur before I could stop myself, my voice choked with emotion. Pei Lu was taken aback, a flicker of pity crossing his eyes, but he remained stubbornly defiant. Xiao Yun, your acting skills are getting better and better. I pretended not to hear, stood up, and strode quickly toward the window, amidst the panicked cries of the crowd and the crashing sound of toppling livestream equipment. I leaped directly from the windowsill. Pei Liu, I'm done with this 5-year relationship. I just want to go home too. I woke up to the sharp smell of antiseptic. I thought he was back, but before I could even feel happy, a familiar voice made my heart lurch. Unfortunately, I didn't succeed in dying. Xia Yun, you're threatening to jump off a building just because I called Ran. I only said a few things to you. Wasn't it you who started the fight in the first place? If you really wanted to die, you'd go to a higher floor. You can't kill yourself from the 3rd story. What are you trying to prove? Pei Lu's eyes were bloodshot. I stared at him, dumbstruck. But before I could speak, Lin Ran burst through the door and interrupted. Her face was streaked with tears, and she looked utterly unsteady on her feet. Yun, I'm sorry. Pei Lu only called me to make you jealous because he was upset with you. I won't show up again. I won't disturb you two anymore. With that, she glanced at Pei Lu, her eyes brimming with tears, filled with a painful struggle and reluctance to leave. In the end, she turned and walked away, but before she had taken more than a few steps, Pei Lu grabbed her wrist and pulled her back. Pei Lu's expression darkened. You didn't do anything wrong. Why are you leaving? Don't cry. I'll have Ayun clear your name. He then turned to look at me, his gaze growing icy. Ayun, because your jump was live-streamed, Ran is now being cyberbullied by the entire internet. You must come forward and explain for her. She's innocent and shouldn't be dragged into this because of you. Because of you, Ran gets called a homewrecker everywhere she goes. You owe her an apology. You're in the wrong here, and I'm not going to let you off the hook. I almost wanted to laugh, but then again, none of this drama seemed to matter anymore. I tossed the phone to Pei Lu, my face a mask of calm. Fine, do whatever you want to clear things up. Right now, I just want to go home. The system responded immediately. Host, it won't be long now. I closed my eyes again and shooed them away. Get out, all of you, get out. Lawyer Pei was taken aback for a moment, but he didn't leave. He then deftly unlocked my phone and swiftly posted a clarification statement. As he handed the phone back to me, his gaze was inscrutable. Ayun, after all these years, you're still using that photo as your screensaver. I didn't say anything, just glanced at the screen. It was a picture of Pei Lu and me holding a cake, all bright smiles and overflowing affection. I felt a little dazed. Back then, he wasn't a leading man yet, just a background extra and stunt double every day. When my birthday finally came around, he spent all his money to buy me an expensive and exquisite cake. Ayun, thank you for always being by my side. From now on, I'll buy you the most beautiful, most expensive cake every year. We'll be together forever. Later, he became famous and kept his promise, but at some point, the cake and gifts turned cold and sharp. In my mouth, the sweetness was gone. All that remained was an aftertaste of endless bitterness. I lay in the hospital for a week, thinking every day about how to die. On the day I was discharged from the hospital, Pei Lu came to pick me up. A crowd of fans had gathered and blocked the hospital entrance, and they started hurling abuse at me the moment they saw me. Just die, Xia Yun, why didn't you just die when you jumped, putting on an act and scheming against others? What a manipulative bitch. You're the one calling Lin Ran a homewrecker. Look who's talking. God knows how many powerful men's beds you've crawled into. It goes in one ear and out the other. After all these years, I'm used to the insults. Pei Lu thinks I'm thick-skinned, good-natured, and have the patience of a saint. He's praised my magnanimity more than once, but the truth is, I was so numb from the hurt, the pain didn't even show on my face. I'd finally shaken off the fans when Pei Lu's car pulled up right in front of me. The passenger window rolled down, revealing Lin Ran's slightly flushed face. Ayun, get in the car, quick. Your haters are gonna show up any minute now. Let's not get dragged together. Haha. She stuck out her tongue, grinning like a cat that got the cream. Pei Lu wasn't the least bit angry. He looked at Lin Ran with a smile, his eyes filled with an unconscious tenderness. The passenger seat that was once exclusively mine has changed its style. I set out the little cosmetics, the vanity mirror, along with Lin Ran's favorite lop-eared rabbit plushie and some snacks. All of these were things Pei Lu wouldn't let me bring in the car. He claimed it was to protect the car's interior and to avoid being photographed and misunderstood by the paparazzi. But thinking about it now, it all comes down to whether he loves me or not. However, it's fine. I took 2 steps back. I hailed a cab and went back to my rented apartment, for I sold most of my possessions and donated the proceeds to mountain communities. Just as I was ready to use the broken porcelain to slit my wrist, the doorbell rang. Standing outside the door was Pei Lu, his expression grim, with Lin Ran behind him, her eyes slightly red. "Xia Yun, do you have to be so difficult with me? I really don't get what's got you upset this time." As he spoke, he let out a sigh, his gaze heavy as it settled on me. He seemed somewhat resigned. "Alright, it's your birthday today, so I'll let it slide. I bought a cake and came over specifically to celebrate with you." Lin Ran's face flushed slightly as she stammered out a happy birthday to me. My gaze, however, fell on the necklace she was wearing around her neck. Lin Ran touched it, her smile sweet. "Pei Lu gave this to me. I liked it the moment I saw it. He said it was just a little trinket and gave it to me." Pei Lu also nodded, then walked into the room and sat down by himself. "It's been old for a long time. It's just sitting there anyway. If Ran likes it, she can have it. I don't care for it either." I stiffened slightly, frozen in place for a moment. "This necklace is a matching set we bought when Pei Lu and I first got together. It cost a little over 2,000, nothing fancy, but he treasured it immensely at the time. I'm going to keep this safe forever. It's a testament to our love. It holds special meaning. If I ever lose it, you can punish me by never letting me see you again, okay?" Every year on his birthday, he loved for us to wear that necklace together. He stopped wearing it last year. I didn't press him on it. I just never imagined it would end up around Lin Ran's neck. 5. When the cake box was opened, Pei Lu froze for a moment, a flicker of panic flashing in his eyes. I stopped his hand as he tried to close it. I saw the 4 words, "Congratulations on your wedding. Congratulations on your wedding." Pei Lu and Lin Ran. Oh, it must have been their mistake. "You're not mad, are you, Ayun? It's just a cake. We can always scrape the words off. It'll be fine." Lin Ran's face paled slightly, yet in a spot hidden from Pei Lu's view, her eyes were filled with provocation. "Ayun, I'm so sorry. I messed up. It's all my fault for not being clear enough with the baker. I'm really, really sorry. I didn't mean to." She was crying uncontrollably. The look of guilt on Pei Lu's face vanished as well. He wiped away her tears with a heartbroken tenderness, soothing her with gentle, soft-spoken words. Seeing that I remained silent, his expression darkened. "Yun, Ran is crying. How can you be so cold? It's just a cake. At worst, I'll just get you another one. Can you stop being so petty? Besides, wasn't it you who went crazy and tried to jump off a building, which got Ran cyberbullied? She's already emotionally fragile, and she went out of her way to celebrate your birthday. Why do you have to keep picking a fight with her?" I wearily rubbed my temples. My heart is still. Placid Lake. Pei Lu was right. It's just a cake, so what if it's flawed? But is it really just the cake that's flawed? Pei Lu, it's over. Pei Lu stood frozen in place, staring at me in disbelief. I didn't wait for him to speak. My face was deathly pale, and my voice was faint. "I'm going home. We won't see each other again. I wish you both a lifetime of happiness." A loud thud echoed. Pei Lu accidentally knocked over the water glass and stood frozen in place as if searching for proof of my lie. It took him a long moment before he spoke, his voice hoarse. "Go home. Where else could you go besides my place? You don't have a home." "Xia Yun, can you stop this nonsense? With no parents, where could you possibly go? If you don't want to apologize, just say so. I won't force you, but you can't just throw around the word breakup." I managed a weak shake of my head. My body grew weaker, and my vision began to blur in waves. Pei Lu was completely panicked. Just before I collapsed, he rushed over and caught me in his arms. I accidentally kicked over the pitch black trash can. The blood that had pooled inside instantly spilled out. My hand, with its slashed wrist, slammed onto the ground along with it, a sharp pain shooting through. "Ah, blood, so much blood. Ayun, are you insane? Xia Yun, who gave you permission to kill yourself? What kind of act are you putting on this time?" "Xia Yun, I couldn't hear it very clearly." "Pei Lu, for all eternity, let's never meet again." 6. I never thought I'd get the chance to open my eyes again. The doctor said I'd been asleep for a full month. After Pei Lu rushed me to the hospital, he not only donated blood but also refused to leave my side. On the 5th day, I finally collapsed from exhaustion. I didn't have to wait long before Pei Lu, having gotten the news, hurried over. He had lost weight and didn't look well at all. He even seemed a bit disheveled. "Xia Yun, why did you do it? That time you jumped, and the time you cut your wrists. What was the point of it all?" My lips parted, but bound by the system's rules, no words could come out. So, with the words on the tip of my tongue, I just smiled faintly and said, "I just wanted to die. That's all." "No, that's not it. I want to leave him, leave this world behind. I just want to go home." Pei Lu's eyes reddened as he gripped my hand tightly. "No, I won't allow it. Xia Yun, are you going to abandon me? Have you forgotten the promise you made to stay with me for a lifetime? How could you break your word? I forced a smile and withdrew my hand. I also said, if you ever cheated, I would leave without a moment's hesitation. Pei Lu froze on the spot, his lips trembled, but no words came out for a long time. I stopped talking to him, stopped looking at him, and stopped acknowledging him altogether. All sharp objects were removed from the hospital room, and even the windows were fitted with security bars through a tiny gap. I could only watch the snow falling heavier and heavier outside the window system. What is my mother doing while shoveling snow in the yard? Your father said he'd build you the most beautiful snowman. Host, would you like to call him? I nodded through the phone. I heard my parents' voices for the first time in what felt like ages. When I hung up, I finally noticed Pei Lu standing in the room, unsure of how long he had been there. He didn't look well. Ayun, who are you talking to? Mom and Dad. I thought you were an orphan. I've been searching for years. You don't have any parents. I didn't want to talk. Pei Lu wasn't angry either. He just took my phone and dialed the number himself, but it turned out to be a disconnected number. His expression grew even more complicated. He reached out, wanting to touch my cheek with concern, but I dodged his hand. Ayun, let me find a doctor for you. Okay. I remained silent until he brought a psychologist in. I finally reacted. Aside from some lingering weakness, Miss Xia is perfectly fine. Pei Lu's gaze remained dark and inscrutable, fixed on me until the doctor had left. I couldn't tell what he was thinking, but none of that matters to me. Ayun, please don't leave me. 7. I had been asleep for a long time. When I woke, my hands and feet were bound, and I had been dumped in a corner of an abandoned warehouse. Lin Ran was with me. She wasn't panicked at all. Seeing me awake, she stared at me with a vicious smile. Xia Ayun, guess who Pei Lu will save if we're both kidnapped? You don't know this yet, but I'm already pregnant with Pei Lu's child. He said he'll take responsibility and marry me. I didn't say a word. Lin Ran's expression contorted for a moment. She got up and slapped me hard across the face, then stomped on my leg that had just healed from a fracture. The pain drained the color from my face, and I clenched my jaw tightly. You bitch. Ha ha ha. So this is your day of reckoning. This is what you get for trying to steal Pei Lu from me, faking a suicide attempt to play on his sympathy and guilt. You're so conniving. How did I not see it before? Haven't you had enough of being cyberbullied, enough of being stalked? You just have to cling to Pei Lu like a piece of disgusting gum. He doesn't love you anymore. Why won't you just get lost? She grew more and more frenzied as she spoke. At the end, she ground her heel into my calf as if to vent her rage. The already fragile, healing area was deformed once more by the external force. The pain was so intense I could barely make a sound. Lin Ran, however, was delighted. Do you have any idea? I've loved Pei Lu for 10 years, from his high school days, through his obscurity, all the way to becoming the movie star he is today. I've given so much for him. How could he possibly end up with someone like you? But don't you worry, today, Pei Lu will definitely choose me. I couldn't care less. It doesn't matter who I choose. I never intended to survive anyway. However, Lin Ran's obsessive love truly sent a chill down my spine. No wonder she was so extreme, doing all those things to expose my privacy. Lin Ran, you'd better kill me then, or I'll spare no effort in continuing to pester Pei Lu. Killing myself might be difficult, but with outside help, it shouldn't be hard at all. When Pei Lu arrived, Lin Ran put on a pitiful act and slapped herself across the face a few times, a disheveled mess. She trembled uncontrollably as she huddled by my side. The kidnapper's blade was pressed against our throats. One wrong move, and I could go home. Pei Lu, please save me. I'm so scared. They're hitting me. It hurts so much. Pei Lu, please help me. Okay, I'm really terrified, and I'm pregnant. Pei Lu stared intently at me. When it was the kidnapper's turn to ask him who he would save, he hesitated. Ayun, why did you run off on your own? I didn't speak. A flicker of anger surfaced in Pei Lu's eyes. He spoke in a low, steady voice. I'm going to save Ran. Ayun, that call you made from the hospital was actually to contact the kidnapper, wasn't it? You staged this whole thing yourself, didn't you? I found out everything. Why would you do this? Do you really hate Ran that much? But she's been innocent from the very beginning. Why do you insist on going against her? Can't you try to understand me for once? I'm saving Ran. This time, you need to learn your lesson. Come back on your own when you've come to your senses. Stop staging these fake suicide attempts. You don't really want to die. Otherwise, why is it that every time you try to kill yourself, I'm always the one who's there? Ayun, you need to think this through. I let out a deep breath. A faint smile touched my lips, and I avoided looking at Lin Ran's triumphant gaze. I paid no heed to Pei Lu's dark expression either. I extended my hand, which I had stealthily freed. Under Pei Lu's I knew it look. I gripped the knife handle tightly and slammed into him. Warm liquid sprayed all over me. The kidnapper, terrified, struggled to run outside but was caught red-handed by the police before losing consciousness. I saw the look of horror in Pei Lu's eyes. Two voices rang out simultaneously. Ayun, congratulations, host, you have successfully returned to your original world. 8. I had been asleep for 3 days. The moment I woke up, I saw my parents' tear-streaked faces. Ayun, you're finally home. I've missed you so much. Dear, it's good to have you back. It's good to have you back. I'll make you some braised pork belly. You've gotten so thin. Looking at my familiar parents, my eyes welled up with tears. It took me a long time to finally stop crying. On the 3rd day of my return, Dad ordered a cake for me, and Mom prepared a whole table of dishes. The whole family gathered around me, watching with anticipation as I made a wish. It was different from before. This time, I wished for my parents' safety and my family's good health. During the last snowfall in Haishur, my father built me a plump, snow-white snowman, just like he did when I was a child. The long-dormant system suddenly spoke up. Host, Pei Lu wishes to see you. I fell silent after being home for several months. I had almost forgotten the unpleasantness that occurred in that other world. What would happen if we didn't meet? He carries great fortune and might break the laws of the world to find you. However, if the host is unwilling, the System Bureau will handle it. The System Bureau is quite considerate. It also safeguards the rights and interests of the host, so even though I gave up on the mission, they still honored their promise to save my mother, and didn't force me to stay in. The system's own words, it's about protecting workers' rights. So when I asked to call my parents, they were happy to agree. I refused, and I have no intention of ever seeing Pei Lu again in this lifetime. Besides, isn't all of this his own doing? He took advantage of my love and my solitude, doing as he pleased. He never imagined I would leave. I never imagined he would cheat. That's why I was so resolute when I left. Once upon a time, I truly thought about staying in that world and spending my whole life with him. 9. Another winter came, and I insisted on taking over the grocery shopping, but on the way, I ran into Pei Lu. He had no idea how long he'd been standing there, how long he'd been waiting. The moment he saw me clearly, his eyes welled up uncontrollably. He strode towards me and pulled me into a tight embrace. Ayun, I know I was wrong. Please don't leave me, okay? Please don't go. I really can't lose you, Ayun. I've missed you so much, I swear. There's nothing between Lin Ran and me. It's just, one time, the event organizer got drunk and forced her into a hotel. I felt responsible, so I've been more tolerant towards her. Please forgive me, okay? There's really nothing going on. He told me the truth through choked sobs, his words stumbling out. On the day Lin Ran was violated, I happened to have my period and didn't accompany Pei Lu to the business dinner. He woke up to find Lin Ran, who had been assaulted, about to take her own life, and he stopped her. I was consumed with guilt, so I redoubled my efforts to be good to her. To the point where, during that time, no matter what happened, it was always my fault. To the point where, even though he knew full well that Lin Ran was behind the online harassment I suffered, he could still act as if it never happened. Poor Lin Ran. And what about me? Am I not pitiful too? Is that fair to me? Why should I be the one to pay for her suffering and his guilt? I calmly pushed Pei Lu away and slapped him hard across the face. Still seething, I backhanded him with another slap. So what? Is this supposed to be moving? Do you want me to pity you, to understand you, to keep tolerating your infidelity and go back with you? Pei Lu, you've lost your mind. Lin Ran is pitiful. You had no choice. What does any of that have to do with me? Your mistakes, other people's mistakes. Why should they be dumped on me? Why should I bear all this for nothing? Do you have any idea what I went through those years? I'm too scared to leave the house, too scared to open packages. I can't even close my eyes to sleep at night. Everywhere I go, people hit me, they throw things at me, but I was my parents' precious treasure too. Do you think a simple sorry can make everything right? How could anything in this world be that easy? My body trembled, and I bit my lip hard. A wave of regret washed over me. I misjudged you. I loved the wrong person. It was all my own foolishness. I treated such a piece of trash like a treasure. How ironic. Pei Lu's face instantly turned deathly pale. Trembling, he tried to say something more, but I avoided him. Ayun, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean it. I had no idea those years were so hard for you. I truly didn't know. You know, my eyes were filled with disappointment. I must have been blind back then to have fallen for someone like you. You're an insider, Pei Lu. No one knows better than you how vicious fan attacks can be. Just because I never brought it up, you pretended not to know. You saw those packages more than once, yet you chose to play dumb. You don't feel the pain because the knife isn't stabbing you, is that it? Then why did you come looking for me after I died? Do you have a death wish? 10. I ignored Pei Lu and left directly. It wasn't until I stepped inside my home that the system finally arrived. its tone full of apology. I'm sorry, host, there was an error at the system bureau. Pei Lu found a loophole and slipped through. The fix will take some time. It might be about a week before Pei Lu can be removed. I understood, but my parents were so furious upon hearing the news that they grabbed a knife and were ready to storm out. After all, they knew the truth, that I could only return if I died. They also knew I had attempted suicide 3 times. Enduring every injustice, it took a long time to calm them down and finally talk them out of leaving. The snow outside was falling heavier and heavier, when suddenly my neighbor let out a shout, came to my door, and pulled me downstairs. His eyes were full of mischief. Only when I snapped out of my daze did I see that Pei Lu had built a snow sculpture by the entrance. He'd somehow found some paint and colored it to look exactly like a bouquet of roses. All the neighbors were teasing him, and the tips of Pei Lu's ears turned slightly red. Oh, young people these days are something else, so romantic, building roses out here in this heavy snow. Right, Xiao Yun, when did you get such a wonderful partner and not bring them home, just letting them stand out here in the snow? I kept a straight face, sensing something was off. The neighbor's voice gradually trailed off. Pei Lu's face flushed as he stammered, looking at me and beginning to speak. Ayun, please forgive me. Okay, I've already explained everything to you. Could you give me another chance? Come home with me, please. Let's not fight anymore. Alright, after we go back, I'll send Lin Ran away. No one will ever come between us again. It's been 5 years. We should get married. Let's promise to never be apart. Again, okay. I still said nothing. With a cold stare at Pei Lu, I took a few steps forward and slapped him hard across the face. The surroundings fell silent in an instant. Unexpectedly, Pei Lu wasn't angry. Instead, he turned his head and smiled at me, his eyes glistening with tears. Hit me however you want if it makes you feel better. Just please, don't leave me. Ayun, I can't lose you. I love you. I really do. As soon as he finished speaking, I slapped him again. Some people nearby tried to step in and intervene, but I acted as if I couldn't hear them. Pei Lu, have you finished your little act? His face went pale. Did you ever think about this day when you were cheating, when you were protecting Lin Ran? Did you ever imagine it would come to this? Am I that pathetic? Am I supposed to forgive you just because you beg? How old are you? Can't you see clearly and hear what I'm saying? I don't like you anymore. And I won't be with you. I despise you. I think you're filthy and disgusting. Do you understand? I took 2 steps forward, stopping right in front of him. I spoke coldly, meeting his gaze of utter despair and collapse. I tried to kill myself 3 times. Pei Lu, all to get away from you. You were just too dense to understand. 11. I turned and went upstairs, and my neighbor apologized to me as well. Pei Lu, who had just been praised as the perfect boyfriend moments ago, was now being torn to shreds by criticism. From somewhere upstairs, a basin of water was thrown down, drenching Pei Lu completely. The cold left him deathly pale and unsteady on his feet, yet I felt no sympathy in my heart. I felt that same chill of ice water in winter, more desperate, more agonizing than he was. I still had to drag myself home, change my clothes, and pretend nothing happened so he wouldn't worry. The boomerang has finally come back to hit him. For 2 days straight, I didn't leave the house, nor did I see Pei Lu. On the 3rd day, it was my birthday again, marking the start of a new year. Dad bought me a cake first thing in the morning, Mom bought flowers, and they decided we should go out to eat. But I never expected to run into Pei Lu at the restaurant. He was dressed in a waiter's uniform, his fingers curled inwards. A flicker of light appeared in his eyes when he saw me, but it dimmed the moment he noticed my parents. Ayun, are you here for dinner? I didn't speak, and neither did my parents. Over the past 3 days, they had come to know what Pei Lu looked like. All they could do was refrain from seeking revenge. Anything more was beyond their power. Pei Lu wasn't angry either. He smiled as he poured water for us and attended to our needs. His attitude was astonishingly good. It was only then that I remembered when Pei Lu first started out as an extra. The pay was so low he had to make ends meet by working part-time as a waiter. Now that he's gotten the hang of it, everything comes naturally. Of course, happy birthday, Ayun. Mom and Dad have spent another year with you, my dear Ayun. I wish you nothing but good health. Mom held the cake, her eyes slightly red and glistening. Pei Lu was completely frozen in place, staring blankly as I made my wish. Ayun, hasn't your birthday already passed? I shook my head with a smile. How could that be? None of the birthdays I've celebrated in this other world were actually mine. Before leaving after the meal, Pei Lu's eyes were rimmed with red, as if searching my gaze for proof that I loved him. Ayun, why wasn't even your birthday real? It's okay, let me spend them with you from now on. Alright, even if it's just by your side, I just want to be there for you. Okay, give me another chance. All I need is to see you every day. I know you hate me. I know I was wrong now. And I've gotten the punishment I deserved. Your system uncovered the truth. Lin Ran was never violated that day. She staged the whole thing herself. Ayun, it's all my fault. I was so stupid. We're the ones who ruined what we had. Hearing this, I was somewhat stunned. Lin Ran was hopelessly, desperately in love with Pei Lu. To stay by Pei Lu's side openly and honorably, she was even willing to go so far as to, but the shock lasted only a moment. I took out the matching couple's necklace, identical to Pei Lu's, from my pocket. The system had slipped it on me when sending me back, thinking I treasured this necklace, but not anymore. Pei Lu seemed to have recognized it, and he remembered where that one had gone. His face grew even paler. He looked as if he might faint at any moment. Ayun, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Ayun, it's all my fault. Please, I'm begging you, forgive me. Okay, please, just give me one more chance. Please, we love each other so much. Please don't leave me. I really don't want us to be apart. I'll find the necklace, I promise. Please, don't give up on me. I shook my head. I threw the necklace into the nearby fountain. Pei Lu, let's not see each other again. 12. That evening, the hospital called. They said Pei Lu had jumped into the fountain to search for a necklace all afternoon, which led to a high fever. He kept calling out my name when I arrived. He still hadn't woken up, lying fragile in the hospital bed, murmuring in delirium. After paying, I sat by the window, watching the heavy snow fall outside. I couldn't understand why Pei Lu jumped in to retrieve the necklace. Even less could I understand why he called my name in his sleep. It does nothing but add to my troubles. It's not about love or the lack of it. He only regrets it now that I've stopped loving him. What is that if not self-sabotage? But then again, I glanced down at the time. It was almost midnight. The system said that once it passed midnight, I could send Pei Lu back. At 20 minutes to 12, Pei Lu woke up, seeing me in the room. A light sparked in his eyes, and a noticeable smile touched the corners of his eyes and brows. Ayun, you came. I knew you couldn't be that heartless. You still love me, don't you? Please, I'm begging you, give me one more chance. Just this last time. I promise I'll love you right this time, and I won't get entangled with anyone else ever again. Ayun, we've been through so many years together. I can't forget it all, and I don't believe you can just move on from me and our past so quickly. Please, don't give up on me. I really can't lose you. That day, you were covered in blood, collapsed on the ground. I couldn't stop the bleeding no matter how hard I tried to press on the wound. I kept calling your name, but you wouldn't answer. I was so terrified. I can't lose you a second time. As he spoke, a glimmer of tears welled up in his eyes. Tears began to stream down from the corners of his eyes, impossible to wipe away. I was taken aback. It was as if I was seeing the Pei Lu of old. Be strong, keep striving. In the blink of an eye, I came to my senses, and it was still the fragile, suffering Pei Lu, I suppose. In the end, things have changed. A broken mirror cannot be made whole even if you force a patch job. It'll be rough and full of potholes. It won't go smoothly. A relationship that lost its happiness long ago. Do you really think getting back together will make things go smoothly? No, it won't. Besides, suicide is just too painful and unbearable. I can't take it anymore. Pei LV, after today, I won't see you again. Let's end things here. At the same time, a system prompt sounded. Host, the system bureau has fixed the issue, initiating Pei Lu's departure transfer. I nodded and gave a faint smile. Pei Lu's expression grew even more pained, a mix of tears and laughter. Ayun, are you really casting me aside? I promise I'll change for the better. I'll love you properly and be a worthy boyfriend, a perfect husband. I shook my head. Go back. Just before his form vanished, he seemed to relent, gazing at me with a look of utter devotion. Ayun, be happy, you too, I replied. He just shook his head gently, his eyes full of reluctance. I don't need to. I'll remember you for the rest of my life. Ding. Correction successful. 13. After the correction was successful, all records of Pei Lu's hospitalization vanished from the hospital. They also lost all memory of Pei Lu. I followed my parents and began a new life. Every year, besides taking my parents for their regular checkups, I pay extra attention to diet and sleep. The system completely detached from me a year later. By that time, Lin Ran had long been taken to the police station, and Pei LV had already left the industry. The entire internet was filled with tributes and clarifications about me. In the daily process of glorification, I became the one everyone pitted in that world. That's pretty funny. Before I left, the system seemed a bit wistful. In the vast expanse of the Tao, I've witnessed countless broken mirrors mended, yet, you are the first who hasn't softened their heart to reconcile with Pei Lu. I felt a wry smile forming. And how did things turn out for them after they got back together? The system fell Silent, it was a long moment before it spoke again. There is no ending, ever. An unhappy marriage, unhappy children, a comfortable middle and old age, yet devoid of any real sense of happiness. Yeah, there are no real endings between people. Maybe one day, when I'm old, I'll look back on the past and remember Pei Lu. Maybe one day I will regret what I did today, but thankfully, I have no regrets today. As the system departed, it left a message for Pei Lu and me. In our next life, will we meet again? I remained silent, unable to provide an answer. But if you ask me, I'm not willing. Once life settled into a routine, I followed the same pattern every day, becoming just another ordinary face in the crowd. The year I turned 30, my parents began to worry about my marriage. After my strenuous efforts to dissuade them, they decided to back off. Live and learn. I've suffered long enough. There's no reason to keep at it. Once my parents gave their blessing to my decision not to marry, I started traveling everywhere to see the world. The year I turned 40, I met someone. The end of story. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video.